Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is June the 20th. It is the year 2024 on the ancient moon calendar. It's 2024, June 20th on the ancient, 2025 rather, June 20th on the ancient sun calendar. It's 10,066 on the ancient Yoruba calendar. 5784 on the Hebrew Israelite calendar. And it is 2020, it's 1444. I believe it's 1444 on the ancient Islamic calendar. I'm pretty sure it's 1444. Yeah, on the ancient Islamic. 1145. Thank you, Empress. Well, they said it's 1445. It just became 1445 on March 21st, Islam. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and in alignment and accordance with the ancient Noahide laws. As stated by this Holy Congress, this is a sovereign living ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the sovereign living justices and Ego Sum Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminutio nolo in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capit et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural living head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Shemites, Israelites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are being the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3 living United States District for Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, divine ministers, possessors, grantors, grantors, and title trustors for all causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign and divine ascension. We do possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the true living God nations, are not at war, and we exercise and demonstrate all eternal ancient sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. So on Thursday, July 4th, first, let us take a vote on whether to meet on that day or not. We know that, well, for us, our household does, we lead the way there, so we can meet on that day or not meet on that day. It's up to Congress. Let me go ahead and open, just one moment. Do you all will to meet on 2024 July 4th, or do we will to adjourn for that day until the Sunday to the Congress? The Congress.
Islam?
Islam Empress. Islam Empress.
What a great day to make law. I vote yes.
Islam. Where's my pen? Oh, there it is. Okay. Islam Empress. Thank you.
Islam.
Islam Empress.
I would agree that it would be a great day on the 4th to make law, though there's an event going on at the garden, and I would love to attend and be outside in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. So I would vote nay to meet on that day.
Okay. Islam.
So sometimes I do make my efforts to be among.
Angel Bay, grand failure.
Go ahead, Empress.
Make my efforts.
Have arrived. Your cheerleaders have arrived.
That part, yes. So yeah, either way.
Islam. I'll just record it as a nay.
That's fine.
And then okay, Islam. Anyone else? Islam nobility. Justice Akil.
No seasalt factory, no land rape.
Go ahead.
I think we should have Congress.
Islam. We've recorded your vote. Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Empress Rima.
Islam, Empress. I vote yay. We should meet. Yes.
Islam.
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 I vote yay.
Islam.
Haris Bey.
Islam.
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 Islam just.
Justice Malika Kilbay. I vote yay that we meet.
Okay. Islam.
Indeed.
Islam.
Islam nobility.
This is Justice Akil Kanumbi Easley L. For the record, I vote yay.
Okay. I think we got it. We got that the first time.
Well, I just wanted to, say my appellation.
Thank you for that, because that is the proper protocol. Thank you.
Islam.
Islam.
Cynthia Bay, grand failure.
There's also Empress Cynthia. Your cheerleaders have arrived. Islam.
Islam.
Islam nobility.
Islam.
I'm so.
Yeah, this is Chief.
Go ahead, nobility.
This is Chief Justice K. Tum Ahad. I think whatever the Empress choose, inshallah. Yeah, I think that's what I feel. Whatever you feel, it's all right with me. Islam.
Islam. So, Justice K2, I am honored. Thank you so much for that. I will say this about that. As honored as I am, you are sovereign. And so, for this particular demonstration, if you don't mind, if you could put either a yay or a nay on the record, and then, whichever you prefer.
Okay. I say yay.
Islam. Thank you. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is an honor. Thank you.
That's all.
Islam.
Islam, Justice Dumore.
Michael DeWam Bay, Mississippi Territory. Yay.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Justice Yahya.
I am in the New York territory, and I would like to state for the record that I am Yahya Bey, and my vote is yes.
Islam. Thank you, nobility. And I do see the yays in the chat. I just want to be sure that we count them. Empress Shasa, is that a yay or a nay? And Justice Yatui El Bey votes yay. Belinda votes yay. Empress Gloria votes yay. Justice Morpheus votes yay. Justice Johnny Jenkins Bay votes yay as well. Islam, Justice Kansu.
Yeah.
Islam. Thank you, nobility. Justice Consul, let me just say this. It's a lot going on over there. They getting out your way.
Yes.
They are getting out of your way quickly.
Yes, I know that.
Okay, just so that you are aware, at United Kingdom territory, Islam. They're getting out of your way, and any empresses, they're getting out of their way too. Quickly, Islam. Are there any other votes for the record? Empress Minerva votes yay. Justice Harold votes yay.
Yes. Islam.
Islam.
And they, yay.
Yes. Islam, Empress.
Islam, AZ, Noble, Nabi, Mahat Il, Sia Territory, yay.
Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Islam.
Islam, nobility.
Noble Booker Bay, Maryland Territory. I vote yeah.
Islam, indeed. Thank you, nobility. Islam, any other votes from the Congress on shall we meet? It is a Thursday, so it's one of our regular Congress days. And it is completely up to the Congress.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Islam. Zanarius Hotep Bay from Arizona Territory.
Yes, nobility, yes.
Yay on that.
Islam, thank you, nobility.
Yes. Okay.
Islam. The reason that I am chuckling a little bit is because we were going to wait to see what the Congress voted for that day. The majority of the Congress has voted to meet on 2024, July 4th. And I have to say, I'm excited because we have a particular plan for that day. And every one of us is a part of that. So we did not know how the Congress was going to vote. We were not being presumptive when we put this information up. However, the Spirit knows all. So for that day, for 2024, July 4th, Justice Atiba, were you about to make a statement? I believe I hear Justice Atiba, or see him. His line came up on the. We want to make sure we get everyone's vote. If you're speaking, is that you, Justice Atiba? If you're speaking, we can't hear you. Okay, Islam. So
Islam.
Islam, Empress Nana.
Sorry, Empress Nana, London Territory, and I vote absolutely yes.
Islam. Empress Nana, they are getting out of y'all's way. I don't know what y'all doing over there, but they hightailing it in the acting.
Okay, well, that's good. So they should.
Yeah. The real emperor and empresses have arrived. Islam.
Islam.
So we put for that day, we will to do a state of the empire statement for that day. So a state of it would have been similar to a State of the Union, quote unquote, but ours, because we're the empire, state for the empire statement for that day. And what we'll do is we would like to have the appellations for each Moor who wills to address the nation at that time. Now, let me say this about that. All Congress members who have attended Congress regularly, and that's just about everybody, we will that you make at least 1 3-minute speech on that day, and here's why. And even the new Moors who are new to the platform, we will that you go ahead and put your feet in the water in terms of governing, because it is important that the longer I look at what's really unfolding, there is a necessity for as many of us to lead the processes as possible. There are many states, cities, counties, courts, judicial court, all of that, earthwide, that we are leading. And every one of us, it is so important that each and every one of us are speaking the same and doing the same and on the same page there, which we are already, and I'm so grateful for that. That day, we will to have each one give a 3-minute in length speech that centers on your vision for the future for the empire, for the entire empire. Quoting at least one law is mandatory so that alignment of your vision and the law is presented to the people. The people need to hear from you, each and every one of you, because each and every one of you is a monarch of your own sovereignty. So you know how over in England they enacted a monarchy. Each one of us is a monarchy, and together we are like monarch butterflies, a bunch of monarch butterflies together, governing and ruling. And so it is important that each one of us just get in the habit of making a speech, and you can read it, you can write it ahead of time. We suggest that you write it ahead of time because we're going to write ours ahead of time. And then we put it on the public record, each and every one of us. It is important, even if you're afraid to speak publicly, it is still important that your voice be heard. Okay? The good thing about it is that each one of us will be in our comfort zone because we'll be at our domiciles giving our, making our statements, state for the empire state statements. As a reference, we have a video of the previous, we called it the State for the Union address. It's at Tajiri Bay channel. And if you look at some of the Moors that just gave beautiful speeches, Empress Angel, Empress Shasha, there were some others, myself as well, who gave statements and speeches where the State for the Union was concerned. So you can use that as a guideline for your speech. We do ask that you write it out prior, and it would actually be interesting to hear some changes that you might be seeing empire-wide, okay, regarding the Empire State. And it's just this is just something to get us all accustomed to governing. Just give a statement, a 3-minute statement, 3 minutes or less. So if you just want to give a quick couple of sentences, that's fine. If you want to give some more, that's fine. And our my particular speech might be a little longer than 3 minutes, only because I'm going to be giving some data on some of the things that have happened just since all of us have started governing from our perspective. So we'll be giving data on things like the number of states that have placed constitutions on the public record since we've been governing, and things like that. So and then we'll be giving some information on just some data in general that you may will to hear in terms of the number of liens that have been filed and recorded by our courts, and so on and so forth. So our statement will be a bit lengthier than 3 minutes for that reason. Are there any now the law that you quote can be a law from any treaty that has been placed on the public record, or the Constitution, or any other law, preferably something from your paperwork that you have put on the public record, even if it's just a name change in judicial proclamation. The new Moors, it's important that you speak, because you have a voice also. Positive, clear energy is necessary, as we are peace. So we're not even going to be focused on the funny mirror. We're not going to talk about the funny mirror. We're talking about us, our growth, our nation, because that is where we are. This is ancient Morocco. This is not U.S. on paper corpse cemetery. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about us, our nations, our states, and things of that nature. Islam, Empress Angel, that's fine. You can, yeah. She says in the chat that they will to go at least third, because they plan on being outside with limited Wi-Fi. So yes, Empress, absolutely. Please keep in mind that your heirs and future Moors will hear your address in their quest for encouragement and knowing their sovereign power and authority. And so we will too. And if you need any further guidance, you can just go back and look at Barack Obama, any of his State of the Union addresses and things, and the things that he spoke about, and then restate all of that, because he was still not in the proper status even then that we know of. So all of those who will to speak that day, we will to have your appellations beforehand, but that may not be. I just have a feeling that, well, we probably do need to get order. We need to get order to it. So on that day, we'll just state, those who will to give a state for the Empire State, if you would, *6, and then we'll just go through and speak. And Morris, I will say this: the more nervous you are, the more you should do it. The more nervous you are, the more you should go ahead and participate.
Islam, can you open the meeting, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
The more you, yes, Empress Gloria, yes. The more you speak, the better for your heirs, for your future, and for the ancestral energies within you. Okay.
Islam, can you please unlock the meeting?
It's open, nobility. Thank you. So on that day, we will have a state for the Empire State, and we don't plan on going too long on that date. Noble Phoenix, hopefully you were present to hear that on July 4th, the Congress did vote, and this is for all of those who are coming in now. The Congress did vote to have Congress on 2024 July 4th, and we are having a state for the Empire State on that day. And any Moors who will to give a 3-minute speech regarding the state for the Empire State, please be present with your speech written out so that you can do your speech. And again, the speeches should focus on your vision for the future for the entire empire. 3 minutes of that. And you must quote at least one law. It can be from a treaty, from the Constitution, or something you've placed on the public record, or any other law. Positive, clear energy is necessary as we are peace. Vision for the empire. Please keep in mind, and also if you have any statements about the changes that you have seen since you awakened.
Who wants to go to my niece's estate sale?
Anyone who wills to give a statement, to add into your speech the changes that you've seen since you've awakened. For example, for us, and we'll just give this as an example, the testing, the tone of the testing has changed since we woke up. Moors are knowing now, going in knowing that they're being tested and they're standing. When we first woke up, it was not clear to anyone that we knew of that testing was a part of who we are in terms of proving that we are the nobility. Because nobility is not assumed, it is proven. And no one told us that, because no one was supposed to tell us that we were the nobility in the first place. So because nobility is not assumed, because if it was an assumption, anyone could assume to be nobility when that's not the truth. It's a bloodline, it's a birthright. You know, not everyone is the nobility. However, those who are the nobility will feel will have that compellingness in them to demonstrate who they are. So, with that being stated, positive, clear energy is necessary. And then keep in mind that your heirs and future Moors will hear your address in their quest for encouragement and knowing their sovereign power and authority. With that being stated, we won't take the appellations today. In fact, what we'll do is on that day, we'll just...
What happened to the people from the rise of the Moors? They're all convicted. They're all going to...
What we'll do is on the day of the state for the empire statement, we'll just open the meeting with whoever wills to make their statement, and we'll just take it the way that we do, one by one, and then I'll give mine. I can give mine either first or last. It just depends on, you know, how we go that day. But I think it's important, really important, that
I will that I used to be evicted.
I will that everyone know that we all are sovereign. We are all the heads. We are all the sovereigns. We all have that bloodline and that birthright. We are all heirs and heiresses and emperors and empresses. There are no, it would actually be a disservice to anyone for any of the Moors to say that we are over other Moors. It's a disservice to the Moors that are the heirs. It is a disservice because those Moors will be looking at the one who's saying they're over them. They'll be looking to them to lead them and to do things for them that they should be strong enough to do for themselves and knowledgeable enough to do for themselves. And we are not about to handicap any Moors, any heirs. Again, we've always stated this, that if someone walks into a room full of us and they ask who's in charge, we all stand up and say we are. And so, you know,
we are.
Indeed, indeed. Yes, we are. And so that is, you know, our teachers have given us that jewel, that we don't lead each other, we lead processes. And whoever leads processes well, we tune in and hear what they have to say, and then we let our spirit lead us on how to demonstrate those processes. You know, so with that being stated, there's not a single anyone at earth who has more authority than each one of us. I don't have more authority than you, Moors, and vice versa. You don't have more authority than me, and I don't have more than you. We have equal authority, all the way across the board, equal authority. And then we each reign over our own estates and empires, because believe it or not, we all have an empire. Each one of us has our own empire, our own estate. And it will be as wealthy as you make it, as you create it, and as you demonstrate it. And then we assist each other in doing that, so that we're all strong and powerful and all-knowing and omnipotent. That means everywhere. And all-powerful. Omnipotent is all-powerful. Omniscient is all-knowing. Omnipresent is everywhere. That's how we end up everywhere. And it's not ending up. That's how come we're everywhere. We're everywhere because there's so many of us. And we're each and all the all. So with that being stated, I have a couple of things that I will to show you that I saw this past week. So what I will do is go ahead and share my screen. Islam. So I saw these photos, and I will to ask the Congress, at the top is the one, and I'll just make it bigger so you can see each one. At the top, this is a photo of the Moor that is currently acting as governor, and he's not really acting if he's declared his nationality. He really is the governor, and I have a feeling he probably really is the governor for Maryland territory, and he was signing something into law. And I looked at, you know, that's him seated there, governor, and his appellation is Governor Moore. And then this is the actor acting as, who was previously acting as President Donald Trump. He was acting, it's just an act. But I will to ask the Congress what you notice about these photos. What is the difference between these photos? If anyone can.
Islam.
Noble, there was quite a few who
they don't have a seal.
Correct. That is correct. That is correct. And look at the big black ink that's going on there, whereas this ink is blue, and you can barely see it, but it's blue. Blue with a gold seal.
Islam Empress. I think I kind of agree with you with the Governor Moore. I got a strong hunch or feeling that he's an actual governor.
Yeah.
The fact that he's using blue. I've noticed that in Maryland. I'm from Baltimore. That the blue ink's been getting popular lately.
Yeah. 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 Whenever we are in our offices, which we always are, but when we're active in our offices, and that just means in the legal sense, in our legal system, we use blue ink, and then on the back end, we do an affidavit in red.
Islam
Empress.
One thing I noticed is the paper. This looks like it's 8.5 letter commercial letter size, and the one is legal.
Yes.
But it's really not illegal. And there's red around the edge. It's fake, and it's a box.
Yeah.
But that's definitely clear.
Yeah. And he has there's a blue something. It looks like a blue stamp right here on this side over here.
I see that, and there are a couple of blue signatures, and then the blue ribbon. But still, it's that's a convoluted. That's an imprinted document.
Yeah.
Yes.
Islam.
If I may.
Justice Malik first. Empress Shasha. We want to let Empress Shasha finish her sentence, and then Justice Malik, and then Justice Angel.
I was complete. I yield.
Yes, those are good observations, Empress Shasha. Justice Malik.
Islam. I don't know if someone already mentioned this, but it's everything's written within a box, a red box.
Yes, it's a red box. Empress Shasha mentioned that. Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear. Okay. Islam.
And his is not in a box. This is not in a box. And I apologize that it's blurry, but this was the best I could do for getting this photo of him signing this into law. Empress Angel.
Yes. I just like to comment on the background. I see Moors around the Moor who autographed the document, and the Yamahoos or palefaces are around the actor Trump, which that part. So those who surround you matter.
Yeah. And that's just an indication that he was not really talking to us. He's not talking to us. He's not talking to us. Whereas the Moors who know
Islam.
He's not talking to us either. Again, those offices are for the citizens. Moors are self-governing. Islam Empress Cynthia.
Islam. I got a report this week that Maryland State subject of governor pardoned 175,000 persons from marijuana charges.
Yeah. Yes, he did. And that's what he was signing here, Empress. That's what he was signing here. 175,000 people were pardoned by him over marijuana.
Because we know most of those people are us.
Of course. He said that too in his in the press conference that he had. Yeah.
Islam, Empress Light, I read another article, and it was saying that that I guess the provost marshal is involved now because it was saying that all the governors, all the judges, the sheriffs of these, well, the county, sheriffs, etc., were summoned, and judges, acting that they cannot just detain people anymore because they're not legitimate, and they basically said if they continue, it would be treachery charges against them. Treachery, quote unquote.
Yeah, and treachery is another word for treason.
For treason, yes.
Yeah. Those are the changes that we're seeing as we continue to stand. Those are the changes in the and again, we know that they're acting. However, when Moors were detained and stuff, it didn't feel like acting. It did not. So we're grateful for all that we're seeing because we know that it's what it should be. I'm grateful to see the seal, the gold seal and the blue ink. And it is in my knower, I know that this red box means that the sovereigns are, that this is a demonstration to show that the sovereigns have everything to do with containment of what's going on. Okay? No one can hear that. No one can hear it. You sound like you're underwater, which you probably are. So this red here, there is a containment mechanism there. And that's appropriate in terms of knowing where everyone is and knowing their standing. Citizens have a standing when they're in their proper status, as and they're aware of that, So I just found this to be, again, the system is doing, and the reason I say system is because the media is a system too. It's a system. And what is shown, or not shown, but what's reflected in the media, Noble Booker Bay, that's who that is, Governor, and I find it interesting that his appellation is Westmore.
I like they talking cold in Maryland all the time, and
yes.
Baltimore is so Moorish.
Yeah.
If I get boys to come out here, I could give you the tour of how Moorish Baltimore is. Yeah. I believe when they was exported from Grenada, a lot of the Moors came here, and a lot of that Victorian architecture stretches from Baltimore all the way to Chicago.
Believe it or not, nobility, they weren't even exported here. We've been here the whole time.
Islam.
We've been here for trillions of since we've always been here. We've never not been here. We've always been here. We've always been builders. We've always been masons. And when I say masons, that means building, carpentry, building. And you can see that from coast to coast, from the river to the other river, the Atlantic River to the Pacific River. They call them oceans. They're rivers. They're just a little bit bigger rivers. So, yeah. Empress Minerva says, Wesley Watende Omari Moore. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So with that being stated, we pay attention to everything that's going on the land, and then we also look at the actors as the system does what it's supposed to be doing, which is, and then we're just noticing everything, and it's aligning and lining up with our commands that we've placed on the public record. And I'm pretty sure that we are aware of this, but we will to put it on the record repeatedly more that what we all state is the law for everything and everyone and all systems. Just like our body has systems, our universe has systems, our government has systems, our land has systems. We govern them all. And as we continue to put things on the public record, you will notice that the media system is doing what it's supposed to be doing too. So as we move on to our next topic, we have a couple of wealth facts that we will to share with you.
I can't help but seeing how happy they look. I mean, it looks like genuine joy.
Yeah. Yes. I noticed that in the press conference that he gave, it looked like he really, his spirit is in what he's doing. And the people around him can feel that. Are we saying that he's perfect? He's as perfect as we are, and yes, we're all perfect. The things that we do is where our opportunities for growth come in at. So that's what we're saying about all of the activity. With that being stated, wealth facts. One of the wealth, I have a question for the Congress. Does anyone know, and when I ask questions like this, feel free to Google it if you know it, but I do know that we have scientists from all areas of science, whether it be commercial science or aerospace science or any other science. We have scholars present. And so when we say, does anyone know this or that? It's because that is our way of honoring the science in us all, the scientist in us all. Does anyone know how many airline or airports there are at America or on the land or at your territory? How many airports are at your territory, or let's just say America? How many airports are at North America? How many airports are at North America?
Islam,
Empress.
Well, I did just Google it, and it says 1,251 airports. That includes Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, and the U.S. Pacific Trust Territories and possessions.
Okay. Islam, Empress.
I just Googled as well. It says, in addition to what Justice Angel said, there's 14,776 private airports.
That's good, Empress. That's better than the number I saw. And Justice Johnny got as close to the number that I saw. But again, all of these are correct in depending on how the airport is classified. Now, let's just say Empress Angel said 1,000, somewhere around 1,000. Empress Rose said 14,000 private ones. Justice Johnny says the public ones are 5,193.
Yeah,
so let me ask you, of any of those numbers, how many of those do the airlines service? Because we want to make a point about wealth. And this is in preparation psychologically for where we're going. Does anyone know how many or what percentage of those numbers are the airlines service? American Airlines, Southwest, any of the airlines, Delta Airlines.
You're okay. Go sit down.
Does anyone know?
1,000 plus, according to what I Googled.
Of the 14,000?
Oh no, that's for the commercial airlines.
Well, okay. Out of how many, Empress? You're saying there's 1,000 and something commercial airlines?
Yeah. Well, commercial flights. So when I put in how many airlines service airports in North America, that's what I got.
Okay, Islam.
Said 1,000 plus.
Thank you for that, Empress Rose, Empress Angel, and Justice Johnny, and the other justices who spoke as well, and those in the chat as well. So,
air traffic organizations.
Say again, Empress.
Would that differ from air traffic organizations?
Yeah, that would differ from be different from them. The point of our question, which each one did address, is how many airports are there, and of those airports, how many are serviced by the airlines? That was the question. And the reason we're asking that question is this. As we were doing our research, we looked at the vast wealth that our estate offers to us, so that we are always confident when demonstrating the lavish wealth that is our inheritance. And some people may have a problem with that, but we have to prepare our minds to be okay with being extremely wealthy while others are being uplifted to what they consider wealth. There are approximately 5,000 airports at America. That was the number that I saw. And the question is, how many of those 5,000 do you think that the airline service?
Islam. Well, I just did a little research, and it says approximately 500 of them are serviced by the commercial airlines.
Yeah, that was what we saw in ours. So what are we saying about lavish wealth? What we're saying about lavish wealth is that all of us have been rushing down to the airport whenever we willed to go somewhere in the previous era, hopping on one of those public commercial planes, quote unquote, and going places. But then there's a huge group of people who don't even bother to go to those places, to go wherever they're going, because they have far more they were enacting far more wealth so that things could be customized and tailored to them, so that they didn't have to rush down 2 and 3 hours early, fight the lines, try to get through with a passport and all of that. at least 4,500. And Empress Rose, I tend to go with your figure that 14,000, almost 15,000 airports were quote unquote private. That means that a lot of people had a lot of wealth in their enactment that we never even saw. We didn't see them because the majority of us never took a private plane everywhere we went.
Islam,
Empress.
This is a part of the paradigm shift because, you know, you want to go somewhere and immediately you think of what is in that narrow.
Yes.
This is a whole expansion.
Yes.
It just puts a completely different view. Well, it's the sovereign monarchical, and it's limitless. And in that other paradigm, in that other enactment, we were limited by our lack of knowledge and our loss of status, by our forgetfulness.
Yes.
We now are remembering, and wow.
And this is why it was so important for us to restate all the documents, restate the passport, restate the driver's license, restate all of that stuff. Because we have our own everything, each and every one of us. And we go among each other that way, like the nobility. But we were worried about, can we get through the airport with a moorishe ID?
Right.
You see how small things were made? That we were made to think that there was lack.
Exactly, and barriers and boundaries.
And barriers and boundaries.
And that's why, I mean, I sit here and I look at that, the term bars, having just recently come from behind bars.
Yes.
That was artificial even as it was an enactment. And even as I would state, I was free no matter what. But that was those bars, and as predominantly Moors are the ones put behind bars, that was an enactment to physically and psychologically lock us down. When there are no limits, there are no bars, there are no boundaries to anything that we are or what we do.
What do you even need? And I'll just say this because, you know, because of what we're seeing, who's going to check that to see if you have a passport when you have your own plane?
Islam. Mm-hmm.
Who's going to check that?
No one else can.
No one's going to check it.
Because actually a passport is for the movement of goods, and we're not goods, we're gods.
Yes. Oh, Empress Shasha. That's so good. That's really good. We're bringing this up to get you to think of who we really are. When I thought about the fact that there are 350 million of us, that's not even a large number when you think about 8 billion people on Earth. 350 million is the remnant. It is the 1%. And there's enough of the estate for us to fly privately, so to speak. And I wouldn't even. It's a mix between private and government work and and public work. It's a mix between those three.
Islam.
I believe Empress Angel had said Islam first, and then Empress Rose. Was that Empress?
Ask you to open the meeting for Noble Tonus. Islam. Thank you.
Islam, yes. I just like to add that it's astounding to now know how many ports of air there is from that perspective, and that how, you know, for me, how I'm viewing this whole thing, like I didn't even know because I was so busy being busied by nonsense, right? The tomfoolery, the rat race, the wheel, and all that nonsense. But now that we are knowing who we are, we have time to now see and observe and partake in our vastness of our estate. And so with that stated, like, we now have time to see and zero in on these things because we've dismantled the fraud before our eyes. And so another thing, I was watching this clip on YouTube, and it was about airports and how they call them Karens, how they were going belligerent at the airports because of something or another that made them, you know, to that point. So I found it interesting, and I said, this is a crazy, Nate. They had restrained and detained this Karen, as they called her, from entering, because she was intoxicated. She fell asleep and missed her flight. She was 45 minutes, you know, slumbered on the chair and things. But they said to her, well, we can't have you board intoxicated, and, you know, you can cause a disturbance on the plane. And I said, oh, wait a minute, what? I said, hold on, because I've seen too many TV shows and movies where the VIP people, they have a whole lounge where they're served alcoholic beverages before boarding the plane, and then after they board the plane, they're still asked if they would like more alcoholic beverages. So what's this nonsense talking about you can't be in having alcohol before boarding of, oh, I said, oh, because she's considered poor. That's why. And so, no, it doesn't. But because if she was in the VIP that we as Moors are, we would be serviced differently. We'd be having more patience we would be given more patience through that whole system of that suite and so on and so forth. So I was just making the distinction between flying coach versus first class and the treatment between the two. Because if you're served alcoholic beverages in the VIP and then on the plane, that whole thing goes out the window. I'd argue that anywhere, saying, how do you have this? That doesn't make sense. How could that be a policy? It's void. You know what I'm saying? Just for the people to be treated fairly, and say, then the whole alcohol should be outside the airport and not even given to anybody. Because everybody has the propensity to become belligerent if provoked, if you want to give it that much validity, because I've seen so-called VIP people get belligerent too. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to state for that, because like it was just like, it was crazy.
Excuse me. Angel Bay, was that in America? I mean, Morocco, the empire. Was that here?
I'm assuming that it was Empress, the story that Empress Angel was telling. I'm assuming that it probably was.
I like to add this because when I was overseas in Europe, they didn't treat us like that. I never paid for first class, but they seated me in first class.
Remember when Pauline said everything was fly free?
Empress, let me go. Go ahead. No, just one moment.
Yeah, going.
Okay, go ahead, Empress Gloria.
Yes, I told you the story of my being a student overseas. Going there, they put me in first class. I didn't ask. Coming back, they put me in first class. So something was up even then. They knew we were.
Yes. Absolutely. Of course, everyone knows. And for us to even be flying commercial was not even a thing. We always had our own planes and own airports, our own airports. In fact, at this territory right here, there is a map of the older airports, all of the private airports that we had. There is a map from the 1930s of these airports at this territory. And today you go and there may be a shopping mall there, or there may be a housing development there, or a golf course. However, there's always going to be markers that something was there beforehand. For example, there's always going to be driveways or roads off the street that lead to nowhere that tell you that there was something here beforehand, and then they put things up, So the point of this is to get us mentally prepared, and we're already prepared. We're ready.
I thought everybody was flying to Federal Way this summer.
Mentally prepared, number one, to accept who we really are and how things should be for us, and that, yes, we do have our own, we must have our own documentation. We must have our own documentation. That's true. We have it already, And see, this right here of only, there's a minimal amount of commercial airports, but all these private ones where all these wealthy people go, the reason that it's like that is because whenever we meet, that's what self-government is. So the point of this is to make it so that we think outside of what that narrow, like Empress Shasha said, that narrow little way that we were programmed to think about. Moors are fighting to get into a system when we have our own system. That's important. Just one moment. Just a moment. Let me put that out. I've been lately, and what brought this on from our perspective is lately, our ancestors know what they're doing with us. They have us looking at ensuring that we're not trying to fit into that little tiny system of commercial everything, but that we're continuing to think big and think outside of, because lately I've been seeing lots and lots of private jets that have been repossessed. There's so many of them that have been repossessed. Is someone saying something? Did someone say something? No? Okay. I didn't hear anything either.
Can't even get her own condenser, but she...
So I've been seeing a lot of private jets and corporate, quote unquote, corporate jets that have been repossessed. As the bankruptcy continues to manifest, as the bankruptcy continued to manifest in that funny mirror. But these planes and things have been here the whole time, waiting for us to do what we do where travel is concerned as well. And again, as I'm watching the dynamics of these airplanes and things, these jets and things, those people in the enactment they drive their conveyance right up to the door of the plane, and they get on plane straight from their conveyance. There's no one standing there talking about, can I see your passport? Can I see this and that and a third? And then another thing that we noticed is that there are some airports where the jurisdiction never changed. It was never corporate jurisdiction. There's one in Arkansas that there's an airport in Arkansas that's like that. But they're everywhere. They're at all territories where no policy enforcers could go onto the land. No actors could go to these places. Let me put it that way. No actors could go to these places. And we're starting to see more of that in our, manifesting, where there were many places, even while we were asleep, and we thought that they were everywhere. No, they were not everywhere. There were many places on this land, at your territories, and wherever we are, that the actors could not go at all. So let's continue to take a look at these types of statistics, because it's important that we know that there was a reason why in the enactment we were called minorities, because it was just a small number of us that were doing this enactment of sleep and poor and poverty and all of that. And then as we're waking up, as we have awakened, because we're already awakened, that we don't fight so hard to be involved in that small, narrow place of poverty. See, we've already superseded that. We superseded it from day one, really. Just in knowing who we are, we superseded the poverty place. But now when we think about, Ember Shasha brought up jail. Even when you think about that whole jail thing, there are some who, no matter what they did, they would never end up there. No matter what they did, they would never end up there. There's another system that deals with that, with what would happen. The reason they wouldn't end up there is because no one would pick up the phone and say, oh, my mother or my father murdered my mother, or my mother murdered my father. They wouldn't pick up the phone and call a policy enforcer or anything like that. And policy enforcers, the actors, they would not set foot on that property, because that was outside of, and they knew it. So again,
Islam.
And those people buried their own dead. They did their own record keeping. They kept their own records of who's alive, who passed, who's doing what, and all of that. Islam, Empress.
Yes, that reminded me of that show. It was called How to Get Away with Murder. But they show you on that show just how they did their things. Like, they would have somebody to clean up the crime, quote unquote, crime scene. They would have somebody else, to deal with the optics. They would have somebody to create a story, why they're not here no more. They would have somebody for every single situation. Like, let's say if somebody was caught drunk driving, they would have somebody, deal with the records of that whole thing, expunge it. Oh, don't worry, it's taken care of. You know what I'm saying? So there was always, they called it the fixer. They would fix this and fix that, and they just stayed out of, even if it made world news, they would find somebody else to, overshadow it so they can remove the stuff from the news.
Yeah.
And it was just that whole situation.
Yeah, that's really called self-governing, except of course we're not trying to get quote unquote get away with murder, but the idea is that they took care of their own stuff. Islam, Empress.
Following on from that, so in the jail enactment, the lockup is right behind the station.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear everything.
Yeah.
They were almost because where I am anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. The people behave like minors, as in children.
Yes.
Trained to go to a completely different jurisdiction, to foreigners, basically, even though these people look like us. I mean, people would go to the police station.
Yes.
Because the woman isn't giving them sex. Okay?
Yeah.
Some real, absolutely juvenile,
yes,
reasons that they would go to the police station. This was an eye-opener to me.
Yeah.
The training, the brainwashing.
Yes.
And so that's the other piece in there. The people were behaving like persons, like trained sheep, really and truly. It was something to experience. It was something to experience in just being there, hearing, because all those 2 months, well, I was actually experiencing living in a police station at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But really and truly, the things that people were going to the police station for, calling for, were absolutely juvenile.
That, and Empress, you know what? That's the point of our test, is so that we can see that kind of thing and know why things were the way they were.
And what needs to fix.
And what we fix.
That was honestly, I could never have known those things otherwise.
Yes.
It's amazing. It was amazing.
And that's why people were being called black and minority.
And exactly. Do you know there was an evening when the actual subject in the office of constable or whatever, corporal maybe he was, literally got into it with me over jumping up and down about he's black, I'm black, and I'm saying, well, I'm not. And I was saying about civility amor tous and all that. This man was out of his tree. If he could literally have taken off my head, because in his mind, I was judging him and elevating, and refusing to be the identity. They couldn't get around, no matter how much I stated the law and go look this up. And no, the mindset is so entrenched. It was just something to really experience.
Yes. But Empress, he's going to look at the records of that they have there, and he's going to wonder why that record looks like that. And I'm specifically not saying your record, because you don't have a record there. But that record, he's going to look at that and what transpired and all of that, and he's going to be like, why is this one different from the rest of them?
They already were, and that was what actually frightened them, because it was him amongst. It frightened them.
Yeah.
I actually frightened them.
Yeah.
My standing, my statements, actually, because it shook up the status quo to such a level. This one had been in the force about 30-odd years. Some of these people had been in the force 41 years, 28 years. I mean, these were people who were totally entrenched.
Empress, you were there for them, not you.
It's true, though. It's true because I know. I actually wrote down a list of things and gave to one of the subjects and said, there you are. If you so desire, go do your research.
You were there for them.
It was really, I mean.
Because they really need it.
They've never, they do. They really do. They really do. It was, I have to say, and I actually said this to one of our nobles yesterday, I think it was, that it was uncomfortable, and it was, I wouldn't choose to have done it and all of those other things.
Yeah.
But I know it was like school.
It was necessary for them.
Erudition. It was a high level of expansive knowledge for me and for them.
Yeah.
And so it was, I know this was spiritual. It was beyond the physical. Far, far more.
Empress, it takes the spirit to even say that and tell you that and you know that.
I absolutely do.
And that's something that those who are either afraid of that demonstration, who are afraid to demonstrate because they're afraid that they might have to demonstrate that. It's those ones that are afraid of that demonstration, they still don't see yet that it's not about them. It's about the ones that they're sent to help.
And I just got goosebumps because that is really the truth of it. It's a mission.
It is.
Ancestors. This is. And in 2019, I was in Burkina Faso in West Africa, and a diviner absolutely told me that I have been commissioned by the ancestors, and I have this work to do, and it's like 50 years in advance. He said something like that. And he said, and you are going to have to do it, and you're not going to question. And he said, you are also not going to even realize the power of what you're doing because you'll be you'll be in the center of it, that you won't even recognize what you're doing, the power of what you're doing. Not that's correct.
See, Empress, to see it that way is divine. To see it that way is divine because, see, everybody wants to talk about how they were sent here for a specific purpose until that purpose shows up that way. Because, see, what you did was you injected. It's almost like giving the system a vaccine.
Boy, and because really and truly, those 60 days in there shook up a whole heap of heads.
Of course it did. Of course it did. We could feel it out here. It was an earthquake.
I'm telling you. I mean, yes, I'm telling you. They've never, ever experienced, seen, heard anything like that. And the ones who know what was going on, have never seen that enactment in this place.
Yeah.
And so,
Empress, it takes divinity to even know that.
Yeah. I know. I mean,
But see the ones that say, "Oh no, she's been kidnapped. Can someone help her?" They don't see that.
Right.
They don't see it.
I mean, it was up to me, but I knew energy and outside you would all be even thinking of me positively.
All the time.
But
I will say this about that too, really quickly. I have to check my energy whenever something is made out of those types of tests, as if to say that, she shouldn't be there. No, because they were saying that about us too, and we should have been right where we were to do what we did, so that our heirs don't have to do it.
Right. I honestly, it's absolutely the truth that you're stating, because I know that this test could only be passed or failed by me. And each one
because you're strong enough. Because you're strong enough.
That's it. And we don't know we're strong enough until we're in the test.
Until you come out of it sounding like you sound.
Right, and that's it. There is no way to go there. If there's a river and I have to cross it and it's beyond and I can't swim and there's a bridge, I'm not getting across unless I go across the bridge. And the only way to go across the bridge is to go across the bridge.
Only divinity could have told you that. And see, I know it, and those of us who have passed that test know it, but some don't. And I had to check my energy whenever anyone tried to make that out to be that you weren't strong enough to make it through that test. Mm-hmm. I had to calm myself down so that I could speak to it and state that she's strong enough. Our ancestors wouldn't have put me and you and Noble Phoenix and those who've been through that test, Empress Cynthia, and we wouldn't have been tested that way if we weren't strong enough to pass the test.
That's absolutely the truth.
Our ancestors would not have done it.
Yeah, that saying, you don't get more than you can handle. I've lived it. We've all lived it and know it. It's the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
The same with so-called evictions and that enactment. The same with enacting being homeless on our own land. We're having 4 walls and a roof. That's a test. And I'm just sitting back going, man, I've been tested with I was one woman in the shower. I was washing my hair, right? And I was in the shower, da-da-da-da, pow, pow, pow. Open the door. This is the sheriff's apartment, da-da-da-da. You're going to be evicted. Open it. And I'm just like, okay. So I quickly got the shower, got some clothes on, and then just went into my, let me call Justice Dawood and, because I was new in this and I was like razzle dazzled. But I stood on my square. They had to enact chopping the door down because I didn't open the door. But it was a test, and because of that, I'm still being tested with domiciliary, situation and testing and showing thyself approved by the study and so on and so forth. But that was a traumatic test. Having once they got through the door, I'm standing there and I'm like got things disheveled, and I'm the only feminine energy, and everybody else is patriarchal, testosterone and pale faces and such. And I'm just like, you have no authority to be here and jurisdiction, and show me your warrant, and they didn't even have one, and so on and so forth. That was trying. It really was. So we all have stories of testimony.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
Your cells are changed by that. Your cells are not the same. Your cells are upgraded because you made it through that, and you're still in your right mind, and not still in your right mind. Your mind is even sharper now.
That's a fact, and I can go back and say, man, if I know now, then it would have been a wrap. But something Sasha had stated about how when she was speaking the truth, it was judging them, and by her words speaking the truth, when she said that the actor was saying, I'm black, and she said, I'm not. And she said she saw him feel like he was being judged, but the truth does that.
Yeah.
The truth does that a whole, it will judge those because the truth stands on its own. So I just wanted to share that when I was like, ding! Yeah, she said it so pointedly. Yeah, it does judge those.
I was out and about in the territory. Oh, go ahead, Empress Cynthia. Go ahead, Empress Cynthia. Were you going to say?
Islam, thank you. I just wanted to say a similar story as Empress Angel, but the beauty of the demonstration of Empress Shasha, it we forget our power. It gave us all a focus place to focus on her situation and to have a talk with the universe that we must clean this mess and to set everyone free of whatever this energy is on our planet. And I appreciate what she had gone through. And you're right, we all have gone through those tests, and we'll never give up. They might as well give up. We'll never give up. Islam.
I'm just grateful that we can see through it. We can see through that. It's just as opaque. It's just as opaque the right word? It's just as transparent. We can see through all of that. And so I have to keep my energy checked when people start freaking out especially when one of the matriarchs is tested. And people start freaking out about, we should be there to protect our empresses. The ancestors are there. The empress is the protection for the earth. The empresses protect the earth, starting with those that come from our wombs. That's the first protection. So we'll be all right. We'll be fine. We'll be better than fine. We're going to continue to go. And
Islam. This work is our protection. There's nothing else. This work and our taking care of each other and loving each other, that is our protection. Islam.
Oh, yes. Islam, I affirm. And this is why I'm so, I say adamant, but probably not the right word, but that's why I'm so stick-to-itive about the work that we do, because I know that it is our salvation, the work that we do. And so I admonish and I strongly suggest those to the Moors who are listening for the first time, if it's your first time being here on the recording, don't be scared, as they say. Be of good courage and good sound mind that this too shall pass, and that we are testimonies and speaking, and we have a stronger testimony of completion once we continue to do our work and see the manifestation thereof. So Islam.
We our wealth is a byproduct of our wisdom and our ability to protect and to secure. That wealth is not casually presumed. It's not. Our wealth is proven by our ability to secure first ourselves. Because, see, the wealth and stuff is back there behind us. It's not in front of us or even beside us. It's behind us. Which means that because they can't, no energies can get past us, no energies, confiscative energies can get to the stuff. Can't get to the stuff because we stand in front of all. So whenever I hear people wanting to, and I'm going to use the term, no, I'm not going to use the term just because energetically it something in me rises up whenever I hear people wanting to wimp out when someone is tested. When they see someone tested and they just, they just freak out about that. And I'm like, you don't know what's going to happen for them during the test. Because tests are for us. But we test, as we're testing, it will help everyone around us. Today I was out at the territory and there was and I came in contact with a Moor from Yemen. His mother was born at Somalia and he was from Yemen. And he started complaining about the banking system, quote unquote, or the banks, and how the banks, 1 minute they'll tell him he has 5,000 in there, and then by the time he goes up there to get the 5,000, he owes them 500. And he doesn't have 5,000, he's got to pay them. And so I tried to tell him that we're not black and neither are you. And it was like I never said a word because he just kept talking about black, 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 black. And I'm like, the only way he knew that was when he came here and was listening to foreigners say black, 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 black. It's been made clear that we have work to do in terms of our brothers and sisters about that whole black piece, because in Brashasha, just like your experience that you had, this guy, he's not even from here, and he didn't want to believe that we're not black, and he's not black either.
It is
that
he yeah.
Say again, Empress.
No, I'm saying it's very sad, that piece, because
yeah,
you, like you're stating, you can say it even like if it's not that subject police. It other people, you'll have the conversation and you're stating to them, you're teaching, and they cannot hear it.
They can't hear it.
As you put the negative and you explain, they cannot hear it.
My only comfort, in those types of conversations is this, and this is for everyone to hear. Justice Tonis will be with you in just a moment. We will hear what you have to state. But let me say this beforehand. My comfort in those types of conversations is, and this is something the ancestors made clear to us from the very beginning, that I did my job.
Yes.
I did my job, and the ancestors told me that even though his mouth didn't seem like he heard you, his truth center did hear you.
Yes.
And he's going to go somewhere at home, somewhere, even if it's 6 months from now, and think about that lady that he met with the purple turban on, who told him that he wasn't black, and she's from here, and she says she's not black. He's going to have that conversation. His truth center is going to bring all things to his remembrance.
That is the truth.
So it's our job to tell them whether they hear it or whether they seem like they hear it or not, because in reality, we're not even talking to what's coming out of their mouth. We're talking to their truth center.
And that is absolutely the truth, because, I made that recollection for my own self, because people will say, oh, why do you bother? Why do you bother? I'm called to tell what I know. I'm called to do it. And that was one of the things that rang on me in this past demonstration. I'm called to do it.
Yes.
My knowledge, my learning is not for me alone. It must come back out, and it must go out to my people, and they will be scratched somewhere.
Yes.
Just as you say, they might keep talking. Some may not, but some. It's like is there not the story where you throw the seed and it lands on fertile soil and it lands not? That's not my business. I'm called to tell, And I must. And I do, and I go about my business.
Yes. You're called to plant the seed.
I'm called to plant the seed.
Because guess what? Whoever we talk to, they are a part of the harvest.
And that's it. That's absolutely it. Yes. Islam.
Islam,
Justice Thomas.
Empress Rosetta and Noble Sharif are trying to get in.
Islam.
So, as far as, I mean, anybody who, at this point, I mean, if there's new people here, welcome, all of that, know that this is what is coming, but you have to have thick skin to do this. Instead of, because you're talking about somebody who refuses to, like, lift their mind above what seems to be at the time. Yesterday, I was dealing with someone who is supposedly one of us. I got a rude awakening because, yeah, he's not saying we're black, but in 5 minutes, we went from, okay, this is the plan that we're going to do, to him all of a sudden saying, well, no, you know, we can't really do that because they're not going to let us. That attitude miffs me more than anything else, because if I'm sovereign, I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling them what I'm doing. So I just think it's really weird when, and like I said, this was somebody I was working with, but at this point, I can't really, because he's already defeated. He doesn't even want to try. And like, that is the most disgusting thing, because what's motivating me is I don't want eternal slavery. Okay. So whatever I got to do, I'll do that. And nothing has been that bad. I've been tested too. But I mean, I expected something. You know, I stood on my ground, and what happened was, I didn't know it at the time, but I won because I stood on my ground. It went from I was going to go to jail and the car was going to be impounded to about 20 minutes later, him handing me my card back and saying, oh, you got lucky, somebody got shot. He drove off. But I think what happened was he couldn't admit that I had just won because I stood on my ground. So I'm just saying to everybody here, stand on your ground no matter what, because the alternative, you ain't going to like that anyway. You may not like what happens when you stand on your ground, but you definitely won't like what's going to happen if you don't. So anyway, Islam.
Tell it, nobility. That's really good right there. That's really good, nobility.
Is anybody going to go to Aisha's vast estate?
That's really good, nobility. You know, it may be a little uncomfortable to stand on your square, but the alternative is not even an alternative. It's not even an option. It's not an option. Islam nobility.
Yeah, I was just thinking, this is Cape Jum Ahad in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania territory. I was just thinking about the sister. Her name is Empress Williams, who bees with Taj Tariq Bey, the sister who bees with him. I was listening to her. I was listening to her the other day, and she mentioned a book. It's called Economic Hitman or something. Yeah, that's the name of it. And when I looked into the book, and this guy, I suggest people look into it, because this guy was he was like a high official. He helped it so much when it comes to the corporations, to build this corporation for them, going around the world and doing things in the name of this corporation. And he explains so much. He makes it so simple. I suggest a lot of people need to read that, because it's so much information there. I mean, we're not the only ones speaking on it. Wanting to break free from this. What do you call it? He called it what do you call it? Some type of corporatocracy or something. He uses, but in the book, it's very informative. I mean, he shows how he broke out of it and why. I mean, he was up one of the highest pays and all that, but he gave that all up because he felt that he had to redeem himself He had to redeem himself, and his redemption was this book that he wrote. And if people, like Europeans, they need to read that because they might get some redemption. Even a lot of us, if we check into that book, it was very informative. It was a very informative book. It is free on the internet. You can go to Google and Google a free PDF copy of it. That's where I got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Islam.
Thank you, Justice K-Tune.
Yeah.
Islam. So now that even the book that Justice K-Tune mentioned, all he did was talk about the fiat. Talk about the fiat and talk about the supposed system that was pushing it around. And how they just go around, they were previously enacting, going around capitalizing people. So anyway, with that being stated, Morris, there's more outside of that tiny little thing that we thought was a system. There's so much more outside of it, so much more wealth outside of it for us than trying to fit into that little system. Now, one of the reasons that we focused on the things that we focused on is because we know that the Moors have to have the mindset to come out of that tiny little enactment of a system first before they can even see all of the wealth outside of it. The way we see that there is 14, almost 15,000 private airports and only a tiny little 400 or 500 that are serviced by the quote-unquote airlines. There's way more outside of that little tiny system. But our focus is we're going to enjoy what's outside the system, but we're not going to forget about our brothers and sisters and what is necessary for them to come outside of that thing. And that's planting seeds on our way up. That's what we're all doing. Testing up and planting seeds on the way up to the system that we know is ours. That's so much bigger. And I will say this, Moors, this week, and the ancestors have not released us to show all of this yet. This week, we had a breakthrough that is so huge where banking and money is concerned. That is a wrap. Let me put it that way. And I already know, because we were able to make that leap, that everybody's coming too.
Bullshit.
Everybody's coming too. See, every time we say something like that, everybody's coming too. Everyone, all of the heirs are coming too, over to the wealth side, rising up to their inheritance. Every one of them. And we're going to make sure that we plant the seeds for that to happen. And then all they have to do is tune into their spirit, and the spirit will lead them as they grow to each and every door. Several of you have mentioned about how you were speaking to someone and it's almost like someone flipped a switch and they went back to the blackety black stuff, the blackness, and calling themselves black and things of that nature. Just know that Our estate and our knowledge of our estate was outside of a gate, the gate of programming. So there was this little tiny section, some call it 5% of our brain, some call it 1% of our brain, and people were saying, oh, humans only use between 1 and 5% of their brain power. Well, that's the only amount that we allowed to even be programmed in the enactment. There's a gate in front of that 1 to 5%. And when we can see what we saw, what we've been seeing, which is our vast estate, that means that gate is open. The gate is open, and we can see all of the other 95%, which is really endless. It's an endless amount. It's unlimited wealth and resources and abundance and unity and love and all of that. While you're speaking to someone,
There's separation.
while you're speaking to someone, every now and then that gate will open because your words opened it. Your words will open the gate, and they have to be receptive to that gate opening also. But here's the thing, your words can open the gate, but whoever it is, sometimes they'll close the gate back because it's so uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Our job is to open the gate or throw some seeds behind that gate. That's our job. Throw some seeds back there as we rise.
Islam.
I
just wanted to say that you said we're outside of the narrow system. I find it not coincidental that the consensus of the people on social media, they have a saying that says, oh, we outside, y'all, we outside. They like to put that on like they're doing whatever and saying we're outside. And so that to me was a precursor of what we're doing and realizing how we're outside of the system and the norm. And then there was another one that was talked about how, well, we spoke about it too on a private call some time ago, about how, let's say somebody wrote a book and then all of a sudden the people felt though that he wasn't, or he or she wasn't living up or did something wrong, so they censored them or they took them out. And we had mentioned that in Congress as well. So it's like I'm paying attention to the way the system, or the collective, like the young people talk, and then how it rings true in the work that we do. So that's the second time a slogan has been said on social media and things.
Bullshit.
Congress, like we outside. I promise you, that's a hashtag. We outside.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that's also Masonic speak.
Where's your penis diddler tonight?
That's also Masonic speak for what's happening with the Moors, because that's what everyone's looking at anyway. Is have we? And here's the thing: being outside of a system, the system was in us in the first place. So we've always been outside of it, but we must demonstrate that. That's the thing. If whenever the ancestors give us permission, and again, we're just going with wisdom in our spirit and what our spirit says, we will to show you the great demonstration. And it's not a demonstration anymore. It's really kind of done. of what the ancestors have.
Aisha's eviction is next.
Okay.
Say goodbye.
We'll show you. We'll gratefully show you what the ancestors did this week directly for us regarding the banking piece and the finance and the money. We're very wealthy, and I was actually able to share some of that information with those around me. Because, usually when the ancestors do something, it's hard to explain it to those around you. But this was really easy to explain to those around me, and I was able to show them, and they can see now that, yes, our money is real, our wealth is real, we're extremely wealthy, and the system is doing what it should do. Now, let me say this about the demonstrations and things. When we demonstrate, the system must align with what we're stating. It must, and it always does. It's just a matter of how long it takes. So I did a banking demonstration that I showed you all where I deposited $27,777.75 into my account by a check that I created. And we showed the deposit and all of that. Shortly after that, some things went back and forth. I sent some more things back and forth. And then somewhere around the end of February, my online access to the account was, I can't say it was stopped, was all it said when I went on there, it said, oh, you selected, you selected double identification. So we need you to go to this place and then do this, and go to this email and send us the code and so on and so forth. Well, as I did that, it kept pointing to the phone number. And as you all know, I don't use that number right now. It's still my number, but I don't use the number at this time, which is going to change soon. But I could not access the code, so I couldn't get back online to that account. Well, that was a test. It was a test. It was a test for me, but for the system was doing what systems are supposed to do. What they do is the system has to shut off to the old way of doing things, and it usually takes about 90 days. Just like our Prophet Noble Ali said, 90 days, and then, boom, you have access to the new system. And the new system is saying everything you told it to say. Well, for 90 days, I could not access online. And whenever I would go to try and sign in, it would say, please call this number, and I wouldn't call the number. I could have used my consort's phone or something like that, but I said I gave that system a command, and that system is going to do what it's supposed to do. Well, the 90 days was time for it to reset. It reset. And just recently, something said, and I know it was the ancestors, something said, go sign on. And I went, and it said something different than go to your phone and we'll send you an access code to your phone. It didn't say that this time. It said phone or email. So I went to my email and I was able to access the account again, the legacy account again. And it looks exactly like what we said for it to look like. 90 days. So March, April, and May was the 90 days, and here it is June, and we are able to look, and that system looks just like the bank account looks like we told it to look. And there's a couple of other things that we're having to address. So we know it was a test, but in our spirit, we did not know at the time that it was only for 90 days that it was going to be reset. We thought, well, if we don't have access to it, we'll just bank ourselves. You know, that's what we were saying. But then sometimes I think that's what the test is are you willing to do without whatever that is? Are you willing to do without it for the sake of who you are? Are you willing to do without it? Because we know we don't have to do without anything. We know that. So the 27,000 was still posted there. And then I moved it, or it was moved. It was moved at the time, the 27,000. So all we're going to do, we have it listed as a deposit in both places. So it looks like it was moved to a different place. And so we're just going to demonstrate some more about that. That, you know, and in the interim, everything that was supposed to be going in there that we did not have access to went in there. So our balance is showing a good balance, a really good balance, a really good balance. So, and we're not going to show that today, but I was prepared to do without it if I had to, but I know we don't have to do without anything we see because we said we don't have to do without it. We said we don't have to. When that first happened, hear me, Moors, when that first happened, the ones with those fake voices that come in were saying, I bet you can't sign on to that account. I bet you can't sign on to that account. We don't worry about it. We keep going and let the ancestors do and let the system do what the system is told to do, is commanded to do. So at the appointed time, maybe next Congress, maybe the Congress after that, we'll show you what that looks like. If the ancestors lead us to, we know that we have to be willing to do whatever it takes to be free. And when we do that, the ancestors say, okay, you're free. You're free. So we were supposed to, this Congress was supposed to be about the Bretton Woods. We haven't forgotten that, by the way. We're going to request more time on Bretton Woods because I'm sensing that the ancestors are doing something. They're doing something where banking and money and all of that is concerned. And I'm willing to let that happen the way, this is what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is that all the things that we were seeing in that little hallway of, you know, in a previous era where people were banking and they were, you know, doing all of these things, what I'm seeing is that we can still do those things, but it's going to be in the big system, in our big system, our estate system, the one that's outside of that little tiny hallway that we thought was life. We thought that, you know, that it was a big deal if people could go out to eat, you know, a few times a week and all of that. And people who appeared that they didn't have any lack, not knowing that there was a system outside of that where people literally, there are no limits to what you can demonstrate. No limits to what you can do. No limits to the money. No limits to the food abundance, the property, the connection, the unity, the love, the spirit. There's no limits. That is the system that we've accessed. We've already accessed it. So, Moors, let's keep doing what we're doing, keep rising, keep demonstrating, because we've already accessed the estate. And now it's just a matter of demonstrating what we've accessed. Some of the things that we've accessed, the ancestors have not given us the go-ahead to show. But I can tell you that there are no limits on us. Spiritually, there are no limits. Physically, there are no limits. Financially, there are no limits. Emotionally, there are no limits. In none of the dimensions are we limited. We are not limited in any dimension. We are unlimited at all dimensions. Our job is to just keep going. Keep going. This week was the breakthrough we were looking to see. And we see now that the system it's registering, recording the money as more sovereign dollarium gold receipts and everything. Just the things that come in. When we showed you the deposits that were coming in, at first they were coming in as Department of Veterans Affairs. That's what they were coming in as. But then we changed that to Veterans Ministry, to United States Veterans Ministry. All of the new deposits that came in as United States Veterans Ministry over the 90-day period. The system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Islam. And I take that as, the ancestors had removed you from that to show you that your testimony and your demonstration had been made strong, to show you that it was working, and that because God is beyond us and we are God, and everything is working in tandem. So they had you seemingly be removed because they want to show you that it will work upon command.
Yes.
Even still, you couldn't do it for yourself because you had showed that you had went into the system that we could do it and change the records and so on. So now that you hadn't had access to that, it says, see, got it. We know what to do now.
Yeah. It took 90 days for the system to just reset like it's supposed to, because our Prophet Noble Drew Ali said 90 days. He said that.
Yeah.
And the system had to obey him too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that at the time I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know it was coming back at the time. I didn't know that access was coming back. I should have known, and I'm glad it is, because that fits with what we stated. It fits with everything we said. We know the system is ours.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that when you're being tested, sometimes you have to pull yourself outside of the test and look at it for what it really is. And at the time, we hadn't done that, but we didn't care. We were still going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
That was our thing is, well, let's go. Okay, whatever, let's go. Let's go.
Right.
And the ancestors, they know that about us, that it's let's go at all times for us. So they just say, okay, the 90 days and 9 days up, okay, send her the word in the spirit, send her the word. And I went and everything. And I was actually able to show my empress and my consort what was going on. And it was just, I won't say vindicating because I wasn't on trial, but it was refreshing.
Reassuring and affirming.
Even to them, it was reassuring.
Yes. Though when we were speaking about the narrow path and the broad path, that reminded me of the Biblios where I spoke about heaven, talking about heaven is a narrow and hell is wide. That brings back to that verse rather, and how it was taught convolutedly from that perspective, because if what we're saying is that we've been taught that we have to be on this narrow, then the Biblios, from the way it was, taught in the past era, that, only heaven is narrow. But now that we know that everything is so broad and so vast, that means like what we was taught in the Biblios from the last perspective era was incorrect.
Yeah.
Pertaining to that verse.
Yeah. Yes. It's funny you should say that, Empress, because the more I listen to certain quote unquote preachers, or those that were previously doing business as preachers, they've always known. And they were giving the answers in their sermons, and they knew who we were the whole time too. He that has an ear, let him hear. So that piece of information is not for everybody, because you have to be able to hear through the minutia. But those that were previously doing business as preachers, and I'm talking about I can't even say the ones that had the supposed largest congregations, but the modern ones that had the supposed largest congregations, they've always known who we are and all of that. And they give away all the secrets, and they call it faith while they're giving away the secrets. They call it faith. Anytime they use the word faith, they're talking about the money system. Every word that comes before and after the word faith, they're talking about the money system. Have faith in God will do this and that and this and that. Whenever they say that, God is the system for them. And all they did was seed the system. Seed the system. And then apply some spiritual energy to it. Seed the system and apply spiritual energy. So there's a couple of other, regarding Bretton Woods, we were not led to go too far into that this week. I was hoping I thought maybe I would have a presentment ready for today, but I don't have, it's not complete, because there's something that's coming through, and I just have to wait for that something to come through. And I think that something has a lot to do with the fact that when we're governing, we don't have to do everything in one day. That we have time. We can spread it out a little bit, and because we're used to handling stuff right away. The minute the ancestors bring it to us, we just handle it. And they're saying you've got time, just give it some thought, let some things come through, and study it at your will. So I don't have anything to present with regard to Bretton Woods. Does anyone from Congress have anything to present regarding Bretton Woods? Because from our perspective, we can wait until after, until sometime next month to do it. After our State of the Union, State for the Empire agenda, if that's okay with the Congress. We have the documents. The Congress has the documents. You all have the documents. Is that okay with you all to wait until July, or if someone has a presentment, we can go into that now with your presentment. Islam. Anyone have a presentment for Bretton Woods? Because I would hate to not hate, it would be inconvenient for someone who studied that the whole week and came with some information and we say, wait until next month. I don't want to, I don't will to do that. Is everyone okay with waiting until next month to do Bretton Woods?
Islam, yeah.
Islam. Thank you, Empress.
Affirm till next month.
Islam. Islam.
Yes. Affirm next month.
Islam.
Islam. I affirm.
Islam. Thank you, Empress. So there's a couple of other things that we willed to state.
Islam,
Empress.
I had a question. So when you were saying that your accounts came back on, remember you said that it might be a time when the accounts will go away and you have to make sure that you keep your books and your records as tight as possible. So when your accounts came back, was everything accurate or was it a little bit off as far as in the system?
There were some other tests based on things we said.
Okay.
There was 2 entries that were put in there based on some things we said. We know where the entries came from, and it was not anything major. It was several 1-cent entries, and all that is the system is saying, can you tell us more about this?
Right.
Because this is what you said.
Okay.
So we know the system can hear. We'll show that demonstration probably the next Congress.
I was just more interested in if the books matched. You know, sometimes it might be a little here or there, but if it's like in the ballpark, and that in itself is significant.
Yes, the books match. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
They match. There was nothing taken out during that whole time, and everything that was coming in came in as it should, in the right amount, with the right titles of the deposits and everything. Everything matched.
Islam, that is so good to know. Just for those who are keeping, their books as tight as possible, just to know that if anything should happen, the system is still doing as commanded.
And that was just a test to see, are we recording and how's that going? Because here's another thing, Moors. Thank you for that, Empress, because that just brought to our remembrance that everything that we do is deductible. Going to the grocery store, all of that stuff, all itemized receipts are deductible. And that way, and because we said that, that was where a couple of entries, 1-cent entries came in where we have to know how to deal with those categories. So, it's nothing we can't do. It's nothing we don't already know. We are just going to ensure that we know how to demonstrate those categories. So be prepared more for, and here's the thing, the ancestors took care of us the whole time. We may not have had steak and lobster to eat, but the ancestors made sure we had something to eat the whole time. Because contrary to what some may believe, my consort is not the rescue one. He don't come through and be like, oh, you don't have anything to eat? Here, let me get you a bunch of, he don't do that. He's always been really good with saving. He's really good with saving. And so it's nothing for him to just have a little bit and that's it. You know, he's always been great with saving. So we had to just go along with that the whole time, which was different for us because we're not used to that. We were always independent and used to having our own everything. And that was a lesson for us too. That was another test for me, is the ancestors were saying, like, we're going to take care of you regardless. It don't matter what anyone else says, we're still going to take care of you. And, you know, we also have to know that we are the source of all of our resources. We are the source for that. So I had to go out onto the land and gather up, you know, dandelion leaves and things to put with my salad and the little things that I had over that 90-day period, because here's what I wasn't going to do. I wasn't going to pick up a phone and call somebody that don't have nothing to do with my account. It's a legacy account. It's mine. I wasn't going to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, what did you do with my account? Because they don't have any authority to do anything. I didn't give them any authority. We're not talking to third-party interlopers. It's between me and that system. So I said I didn't care how hungry I got. And fortunately, the ancestors didn't let us suffer. It was a little thin sometimes, but it was just for a little while. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. And I don't know who needs to hear that, but I'm going to say it again because somebody on here needs to hear that the situation that you're experiencing, that too shall pass. Your wealth is here. Your estate is here. Keep going. Keep going. Because this too shall pass. And all that stuff, when it passes away, the only thing left standing is going to be your wealth. You and your wealth and your estate and your processes that you govern your estate by, because that's eternal. See, in the Biblios, it talks about the days when everything that can be shaken will be shaken, and the things that remain will always be. Your heirs and your heirs' heirs and your heirs for 7 generations, for 1,000 generations won't have to worry because of what you're doing right now.
All right, now, talk it, speak it. So it is. We affirm.
There it is. There it is. There it is. This little...
There it is.
It's a little uncomfortable. We know that. A jail cell for us was not comfortable. We couldn't go to the refrigerator and pick out whatever we wanted in a jail cell. That was uncomfortable. That bothered me. That I couldn't just get out of my bed and go pick something out to, you know. And during this test, I couldn't just go to the refrigerator and pick something out because this was another part of that test. But our ancestors know what they're doing. And here's the thing, on those days where they were kind of down days energetically, where I was thinking, ooh, ancestors, because I had to be honest with the ancestors, ooh, ancestors, today I am not feeling this test. I'm not feeling it today. Y'all gonna have to come through because I'm not feeling it. And they were like, we can't come through because we're in you. So we're experiencing what you're experiencing. And then I would go and lay down or something like that, and they would just come through and renew my strength. And next thing I know, I was up on the treadmill running. Because, and every day, when it came time to have something, I always had something. And it was always more than enough. And to look at what I thought, to look at the inventory, I didn't think I had enough to do anything with. And every time I would have this plate, and it would have more than enough on it. And they said, just take it one day at a time. Just take it one day at a time. Just take it one day at a time. So our test, and Empress Shasha, she knows this one. Take it one day at a time, and you'll get there. One day at a time. Empress Cynthia, one day at a time. She knows this. She's been there. Many of you have been there. One day at a time. You may even have shed a little tear or something, because I know I did. One day at a time. And now it's a whole different story. It's the story, not different, because it's the story that we've been stating. The systems have to align with what we're saying. They must be in accordance with what we're saying. Systems are not as quick at that as we are. Islam in the chat. Systems are not as quick as we are because they're eternal systems. It takes it a minute for an eternal analog system led by the Spirit to wake up and get in alignment. But it does every time perfectly. And this time when I was able to see, I was able to look and see some things that I could improve on in terms of, the layout of how things work in the account. But I had to go through that 90-day test first. But here's the thing. I was so busy the 90 days because of Congress and because of demonstrating and studying that the time went by really quickly. And when it was time, the ancestors spoke directly to me and said, go check, go look. I went to look, and it was like clockwork. It opened up, and I was able to see everything. That's how this works, Morris. Don't be afraid of your test. That's how this works. Go ahead and demonstrate. And then when you see things change, the fact that things are changing because you're demonstrating should tell you that it has to do what you say, because it changed when you said it. And sometimes those changes don't look like what you said to you, but to the system, it is exactly what you said. It's going to, and by the time it's all said and done, it's going to be exactly the way it should be.
Islam.
When
you were speaking about stars aligning and so on, it hit me and just dawned on me. It's like the system was renamed from Star Song or Star Gate, because as we know, the gate is jurisdiction, and all matriarchs, when they crown their heirs, they go through that star jurisdiction gate. So, and then you said how the stars take time to align, and how stars are formed in the ether. It takes time, and then so as the time that it takes for it to form, the alignment is also over time. So that just dawned on me that it's all connected, and it's all similar, like synonymous, as far as how things take and are manifested. But Star Song is probably more what it was probably before it became a system, because the stars that you had mentioned and how things are taking to align.
Yeah.
As above, so below in that regard.
Yeah. We're just, our system is so much bigger than what we were programmed from the previous era's enactment. It looks a lot like it, but that's why restating everything is so important. Because when you restate anything that you restate, you're accessing the all, not just some little narrow hallway of stuff. You're accessing everything by restating everything. So sometimes it may be a little scary, because it was for me a little bit, because I was actually concerned about what my consort was going to say, because he's not accustomed to being the sole, supposed sole grocery shopper, breadwinner, brinker homer, and all of that. He's not accustomed to that. He does not do that well, but he did this time. He was better this time than I expected him to be while this this period happened. But I had to not worry about that and just say, ancestors, that's y'all's problem, not mine. Y'all gonna have to deal with it. And shockingly and surprisingly, because he's from the teamwork camp where everybody brings their, come to the table and bring things, which is how our estate works actually. But our ancestors did exactly. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. All we have to do is know that they got us no matter what. They will take care of us.
Islam.
I
just had to Google it. It's Matthew, the 7th chapter, 13th through the 14th verse. Mm-hmm. And it reads, "Go through the narrow gate, because the gate to hell is wide, and the road that leads to it is easy, and there are many who travel it. But the gate to life is narrow, and the way that leads to it is hard, and there are few people who find it." And I'm just like, in the foreign acting way, hell was very, very difficult, and it was very narrow. And now that we know that it's not true, and now so like I said, this verse is convoluted, and it's apophicated, and it's not true, because the jurisdiction, as we know it to be gate, is wide for us.
Yeah, it's the opposite of what that says.
Yeah, because I was sitting here scratching. I said, no, let me just go look it up and read it, because and we don't have because when we're knowing and we're born into it, we don't have to find it. It's right there. It's already presented to us. So when it said, "And it is there, and a few people find it," wait a minute, what? No, few people don't find their truth and their nationality and their consanguinity. That's known to you when you go through the Stargate, through that narrow gate. Yeah. Goodness. Yeah. Anyway, Islam.
It made it clear to me, though, this whole that specific test, and then the thoughts about the airports and things like that made it clear to me why someone who is extremely wealthy has so much room around them, so much space around them, because there's not that many that it registers with, that they can have it too. Some don't get it. But I told the ancestors that I willed to hit that thing from the bottom, basically, really hit that whole process from the bottom up, so that no matter where we are in our thinking, that we can catch on, that we can catch on and start going up, so that the seeds are out there, so that they can pull from the seeds, so that no matter where you come from, because Moors are coming from some of everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere mentally. You know, mentally, we span the gamut of thought processes and programming and things of that nature. I saw a documentary basically on some of our brothers and sisters who are in a place called Suriname, which said a lot to me. And they don't allow modern Europeans in their village. None of their villages. They will kill them if they come into the village. And I'm not saying that that's right. We don't agree with that. But even in that village where we would say that they were poor because of the way they live. But even in that village where they have hardly any outside contact with people who don't look like them. Now, we could go there and they would welcome us. But even in that village, there was an older empress. She looked like she probably was about 75 years old. But when asked, and it had to be translated because the language that they spoke, but when asked, you know, how she was doing and things like that, she said, her response to that was, where are you from? Because I want to go to, the next time you get on a plane, I want to go with you on a plane. I want to go travel. She wanted to go travel. And I'm like, how would she even know about a plane in a place where, you know, they don't have outside contact, as it were? But see, somebody in there has internet access. Somebody around there, even if it's the king, because they have a king, has internet access. So somebody's seeing something. They didn't allow cameras in the place, but they let the guy, because he was one of us, they let him in to the place with his cameras and things. And he was able to speak to them and speak to the king and speak to the people and kind of get their thoughts on different things. And those people want to experience life too, just like, you know, everyone else does. They know that there's a vast world that they are not seeing out there, a vast earth that they're not seeing out there. And, you know, for us, we will to even go to places like that and modernize it for them if that's what they will. Some of them don't want modernization because for them, modernization means colonization by foreign actors, and they don't want that. But if they see us coming and assisting, then they'll accept it. Those who will to do it, but this particular group of villages, they were very protective of their spiritual energy. But they were at war with the modern ones. They were at war with the modern ones. And that's how come things did not progress there, even though some of them wanted things to progress. So I'm grateful that the ancestors gave us the peace, because we don't have to war with anyone, because all we have to do is correct our system. Speak to the system, it will do. And here's the thing, the systems are so big and so huge that it's not an overnight process. It's not. Today you speak to, and in many cases it can be that. But that's why we just demonstrate and keep moving. Demonstrate and keep moving. Send the word and keep moving. And you'll look up, and the spirit will tell you, okay, go check this or go check that. Or now your access is granted here. Your access is granted there. You know. So all we have to do is keep moving. have you ever really, truly thought about why everyone rushed over here and brought their whole families here? Have you ever wondered why? And this is at the islands and at UK territory, United Kingdom, and all of those places. Have you wondered and truly thought why everyone chose here to come? Not because we were better than the Moors at the other territories. The true reason would never be placed in quote-unquote Western media. It's because the Moors who were governing at those other places did not trifle with subjects or citizens, which are really one and the same.
Can you say that again, please?
That our brothers and sisters at the other lands ruling and governing, they did not play games with subjects. They didn't. They rule with an iron fist. They rule with an iron fist. And they don't take any, they were not merciful at all. One false move and you're decapitated, both spiritually and physically, if you're a subject and you get out of line or look like you're out of line. They ruled with an iron fist. And that carried over in some cases to how they dealt with their brothers and sisters. And so the ancestors said, we're going to switch things up and change things up so that they will love one another. And when we say they, that's us. Moors would love other Moors and also be fair with subjects. Be fair with them. According to Chapter 29 of the Circle 7 for the Moorish Holy Temple for Science, entitled Magistrate and Subject. But throughout time, some of the Moors did not, they wouldn't think twice about pulling out their sword and just chopping off heads and carrying on. Without even thinking about due process. Without even thinking about due process. Some call it Sharia law in some places. That's what some call it. We don't call it that, but some call it that. Where if you steal something, they cut off your hand. They don't ask you why you stole it. They don't care. You don't go to court. You stole, you get your hand cut off. You lie, you get your tongue cut out. Things of that nature. Well, we don't do things like that here. That's why our courts are so important. It's so we don't have to do that when we have due process. Due process does not mean that those things don't exist. It means that by the time you get to something like that, you can just deport them. On a similar note, but I'm really thinking about having a separate Congress for this particular topic that we're about to speak about. I'm going to put this link in the chat, and whenever you all have an opportunity to watch it. Empress Cynthia, as I was watching this video, I thought about you. You and all the Moors who've ever gone through the test of an addiction. I thought about you. And at first I was going to hesitate in presenting this because I know it can evoke energies But as the more I watched it, the more I thought we all should watch this. Because this is what our Grand Sheik has been telling us about how there were two supposed parties enacting, arguing over our estate. It's not theirs, it's ours, and they know it. And in this particular enactment, there is this huge 8,000 square foot house. I'll call it a house. And it looks like something we lived in because it's red brick. You know, whenever you see things red brick or limestone, you know that it was originally built for Moors. But in this particular presentment, it was an enacted foreclosure. And in the foreclosure, quote unquote, you see the dynamics because they're talking it out as they go. And the one who was supposedly living in this place and being foreclosed upon, she knew. She stayed in there for 3 years in this enactment, 3 years beyond the supposed foreclosure, because she knew that the supposed bank could not present the title to the place. So she just kept asking for the title. And whenever she would ask for the title, they would be quiet for a while, 6 months or so, or something like that. She knew that legally, they didn't have the title. And she knew they couldn't present the title because she knows who has the title. And so she brought that up a couple of times in this presentment. And then the ones who supposedly bought the place, now Moors, this is important because, oh my word, when I heard this, the biggest light bulb came on. And we've known these things in our spirit realm, but to see the words manifest. At minute 30:15, there is a supposed attorney who was working for the supposed buyers of the place. And this supposed attorney, when the reporter asked him about, well, who has the title or who has the title deed or something like that, or is she right about what she's saying about that? Because they could not throw her out of there. She had to abandon the place. And it was only after she consented over and over to abandon the place that they were able to call a sheriff. But the reporter asked the supposed buyers, was she right about what she was saying about the title? They had to stop everything they were doing. And see, people don't know this, but I knew it, that she had invoked jurisdiction, but she was invoking it under the Moors, the title holders, the ones who have the title. So the supposed buyers called their supposed attorney. And the attorney, the one acting as attorney, got on the camera and he said that the actors that were acting as buyers, and I'm paraphrasing it because he didn't say they were actors, but he said, well, the buyers they are known as bona fide purchasers for value. That was the term that they've been using on you in their enactments, Moors. That they weren't going to tell you that that's who they were acting as, bona fide purchasers for value. And because of that title right there in the enactment, that gave them some supposed legitimacy. Supposed. It wasn't real. And the lady knew it. Because it doesn't matter what they call themselves. Do they have the title? No, they didn't. She even stated in there that they went over her head and did the thing without saying anything to her. They did a sale over her head. That wasn't legal. And she said that. She said it wasn't legal. They did it behind my back and over my head, and it wasn't legal. And do you know they could not put her out of there? So they had to finesse and get her consent in deceptive ways. It was deceptive. Get her to say on camera, get her to agree to be the debtor on camera before they could call a supposed sheriff. And do you know, these were all modern European actors. Do you know that the ones that were claiming to be bona fide purchasers for value, do you know that they acted like they were just so sad to do what they did to her? They even cried. They even had tears. And they were like, but she has no place to go. What are we going to do? We have to help her. We have to help her find a place. And I was thinking to myself, if you cared that much, you wouldn't be busy booting her out of there. But you don't care that much. So they put on a good show and a good act to make people think, oh, they were so nice and sweet and generous about what they did, and they helped her and all of that, and they made it look good. But all that crying and stuff, they were not going to give up their enactment of that place. So I did some digging on what a bona fide purchaser for value was all about. Islam members.
Oh, because I just looked at it in Black's Law Dictionary. I found a bona fide purchaser, but I have not found a bona fide. What was a
bona fide purchaser for value?
Okay, so bona fide purchaser in good faith for valuable consideration and without notice. A purchaser for a valuable consideration paid or parted with in the belief that the vendor had a right to sell and without any suspicious circumstances to put him in inquiry. And then goes, one who acts without convin, fraud, or collusion. One who in commission of or convenience at no fraud pays full price for property in good faith, honestly, and in fair dealings buys and goes into possession.
Now, does that sound like some old word salad or what?
Yeah, you're almost there. Right there. Yeah, right there. You got it. You just went past it. That big paragraph right there. Yep, both by purchaser. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
So I looked this up too, but then, Morris, have you all heard of the word value? Because, you know, we did accept it for value, right?
Yeah.
And I actually demonstrated and accepted for value purchase using Delarium. Now it's even clearer to me why they've not been able to do anything with that building. They can't move on it because it's got a lien on it and it's already purchased. And that was the same building where I showed that our red affidavits went on the record. Okay. But I looked up the word value, and I looked it up in Webster's 1828 Unabridged Dictionary. And I'm telling you, when I saw the real meaning of the word value, It's a wrap. It is a wrap. It's a wrap. Let me see if that word is in this dictionary as well as the word value in here. And it's probably going to be a word salad too, but VW. Value is value, VAL. There it is, value. Value. Let's see. Look at this, Morris, because see, it's a wrap already, but this is going to really prove that it's a wrap. It says, let's look right here. Any consideration sufficient to support a simple contract. Any consideration. Consideration is money, or the exchange method. Any consideration sufficient to support a simple contract. Let me tell you what Webster's 1828 dictionary says about the word value, and this is going to tell you that it's all over. It says, in music, the duration of a note or tone. The duration of a note. Think about that, Morris.
Wow.
You know what that means? Empress Shasha, you were about to say.
No, you know what? I pushed the button, but I was just like wowing on the other side because note.
Yes.
Note. And just hearing that music connection, currency. I mean, just the Federal Reserve note and the duration, the time, the length of something. And
yes.
I was just wowing. I wasn't really intending to comment, but I yield, yeah.
So thank you, Empress. What that is saying is that as long as the note is good, then there is value. But if the note is no longer any good, if whatever that consideration is no longer any good, then there's no more value.
Islam. Islam. Wow. 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 If I may.
Yes.
De-dollarization.
Yes.
And the fact that it always was a debt which never had substance nor value.
Yes.
So that just brings it into a clearer focus and a wider focus at that. But people get confused how focus could be wide, but we'll get there later. But but the fact that we now have a broader understanding how they never had any value. 1933 Bankruptcy Act, and so all that they acted, all that they enacted, Act 1, Scene 1, exit stage left.
Yes.
They had no value.
Yes. Yes.
So you have it here on the screen. Value of land for purpose of taxation is represented by price that would probably be paid, therefore, after fair negotiations between willing seller and, I mean, come on, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What? That doesn't even make sense.
I'm getting a photo of the word value in the Webster's 1828 so that you can see what it really means.
To me, value comes from the one who holds the item. Because I know I have something valuable, I place a monetary value on. That's like me crafting a beautifully vase out of wood, right? I created it, so I value it.
Yes.
And so now, because I valued it, now I put it before the people and say, well, if you value it like I value it, now you can now exchange value for value based upon whether we're going to do a barter system or you have gold and silver coins, you know, whatever, what have you. But the value comes from the one who holds the item initially, because they're the ones who sets the value.
It also comes from whoever they're contracting with. And if there is agreement on that value, then that's the value.
Mm-hmm.
See, what we stated that the Moors do is trade among each other. So like if you have a property, then you and another Moor demonstrate that the sale of that property. One of the Moors be the realtor or the bank, the other Moor be the buyer and the purchaser, you know, and you do the sale, you demonstrate the sale between the two of you or the three of you. So this is what it says in the dictionary about value. So when someone says accepted for value, the word value as a noun, it says to be strong or to be worth. That's why they keep talking about the quote-unquote strength of a dollar. Any fiat debt contract that was done with that U.S. fiat debt notes was only enacted as being good for the duration of the note. And because that note is no more, those contracts are no good. They really weren't from the beginning.
I thought First Avenue was going to be a sea salt factory, Polly.
They were never any good. They were never any good. But see, now we can...
Where's your sea salt factory, babe?
Now we have proof, though. When you go to and see, we don't even have to use them as proof. I was going to say go to the Federal Reserve website.
First
and go to the Federal Reserve website. And I was going to say pull up whatever information is there about the CBDC, which is any mention of a CBDC is proof that the other stuff is dead. Truth. Because they wouldn't be talking about that in their enactment if the other stuff was still any good. You see? So any contract containing the word value specifically, but if it was done with fiat, none of those contracts are valid. None are valid. Because according to the word value, which all of it was supposedly accepted for value, it was only good, the contract was only good for the duration of the note. And those things are done. There's no value to them. And if there's no value, then that means you got property that wasn't paid for. It wasn't paid for. But now among the people, the dollarium and gold and silver is the value. And if you and another Moor agree, you look at a property and the three of you, one is the bank, one is the seller, and one is the buyer. How can you be the seller in that presentment? You could be the seller in that presentment when you have the title and you have a trust deed and you can prove that you're selling the place, that you're the bank. The bank can sell it. So really it's just a bank and a seller, because that's what was in this video, the link that I gave you. That thing happened in its enactment between a bank that was claiming the property over the head of the occupant in the enactment. But And so she wasn't party to any of that, but she didn't have to be because they were deeming her non-payment as an invalid contract. Well, now we're deeming all property is available and fungible for us. That's why we did the fungibility thing. And let me say this too. The moment we did that fungibility law, that was when that account popped open. And I'll say this, and my consort is the witness to what I'm about to say. As I was typing up the fungibility law so that I could upload it and have it under the video in on YouTube for everyone to download, the moment I signed it and stamped it and sealed it, I happened to look up from the table, and there was a bald eagle flying around, circling outside. That's never happened before. It was a bald eagle, and I was like, and I called my consort and I told him to come and look, and he looked and saw, and he was like, oh yeah, that's probably the one that has a nest down the way somewhere. I was like, wow, that's a good sign, because see, the previous, they were using the eagle as their symbol, quote unquote, in their enactment. Ours was the bald eagle, and that's what was flying around out there. That's an indicator of freedom. So where value is concerned, Morse, all you have to do is demonstrate among each other. And if there are no Moors at your territory, the way we did it was we do each one. We're the bank, and so we do what banks would do. And then we're also the buyer, so we do what buyers would do. And as long as you can prove where everything is and everything is aligned properly, it's yours. Because that's the next step. That's the next step. We're taking it a step at a time. The building that we did the demonstration on is still standing, and is still no one there. Yes, Empress Shasha says the bald eagle is a symbol of strength, valor, and value. Valor and value in this dictionary, when you look up the word value, valor is right there. Because they have the same word in, I think, Old French or Latin. Valor and value is the same in Old French or Latin. So, because we have a allodial title, that's going to supersede all the paperwork, but then we must have the legal pieces together so that everything is aligned where competent heirs, and peace are concerned, and proper exchange on the public record. So everything that we've been stating, we can see it in all of this. So when you have an opportunity to look at that video, there's a couple of takeaways from that particular video. First, the video was done by a show called Hoarders. When I think about just how much stuff was available in the enactment from the previous era, no one should have gone without. No one should have gone without anything. No one. Because you can go out on the curb and find brand new stuff out on the curb in many places. No one should be without. Clothes, shoes, electronics, furniture, even conveyances. No one should be without. So from this point forward, we're just going to do the proper
Islam.
Exchanges. Islam.
I just wanted to thank you. You have no idea how timely this is, because the ancestors have given me some directions And, when you start down the path, there's obstacles that say, well, you're going to have a little problem getting there because this is what's going on. So what you just demonstrated cleared a lot of things, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Empress, our ancestors know what they're doing through all of us. They know the proper timing. Their timing is always perfect. It's always perfect.
Islam. Yeah.
It's always perfect. Islam, Empress.
Well, because we here at Manawachu territory are restating the acceptance for value stamp.
Yeah.
And because it was brought back to our attention how when we create our own, we knew about creating our own stamps, but the power of stamping our documentation and our affidavits with a stamp that says it's accepted for value and what that really means.
Yeah.
And when you brought this in today, I'm just like, man, okay now, because I had restated it today, and then Justice Nate was like, well, you got to get that House Joint Resolution 192 out of there and put something else in there. So I was like, okay. So then I was like, oh, I guess I'll do Article 1, Section 10, Constitution, stating that the only gold and silver can be accepted. And
it's accepted for value. You have no value.
Just one moment. Idiots.
and also to you reminded me about stating the fungibility law. That was also something to add into the restated acceptance for value stamp. So,
as soon as we put that thing on the record, that account popped open. As soon. So
yeah.
Because that other stuff is not valid. It's not valid. Not valid. So any contracts claiming to be over something, any foreclosure contracts that are nominated unlawfully and illegally, it's no good.
Right.
No good.
And we were studying Noble Lamont's one of his videos from 2022, and he was going over the word entered and what enter means as far as entering something into the Article 3 courts. So then I said, oh, wait a minute. I took my rest and I rose early in the AM and I started penning. And did you see my demonstration on YouTube?
I did.
Yes. And so that's what became of listening to the Noble and his eruditions and such about that word enter. And I'm like, I felt, compelled to do a covering for all the Moors that do public notices on the record to state that they are entered into the Supreme Court Article 3 jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Because.
And we call them entries or recordations. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like, wow. It was just like, this is something. Yeah. So I just felt compelled to do that public notice. Oh.
All contracts in the enactment that were enacted by debt notes are void. So Moors who this goes for the grocery stores too. This goes for every place, all utilities and everything. Everything that was previously nominated in the enactment in U.S. Federal Reserve debt notes is not valid. And those contracts are what's leaving. Now, Moors, hear me when I say this, because this is important too. anything that the debtors were putting out, were broadcasting, YouTube, wherever, TikTok, whatever. Anything that they were broadcasting, they were not talking to you. They were not talking to us. They were talking to debtors. They were talking to people who refused to come outside of a U.S. debtor system enactment. So as they are continuing their exit, see, for us, they're already gone, but for some, they have not fully exited yet, because you can hear it in the language. When some people talk, they talk like that funny mirror is current and active today, right in front of them. So to them, it's still happening. And to them, they would think that we're not speaking in reality, but we are for us and for the land and for what's real. They don't realize they're speaking from a programmed funny mirror. They don't realize it. Some don't. So as that funny mirror enactment theater is winding down, for those that it hasn't already wound down for, just know that whatever you hear, I don't care what it's about, it can be about whatever they were talking about, a pandemic, masks, all it, they're not talking to you. And they know they're not talking to you. Okay? None of that is talking to you. And they're not going to enact anything like that, but we just will that you know, for those who might be seeing that in what you're looking at. We're not even looking over there no more, because it's not a thing. You know, nothing was valid there from the previous enactment. So let's keep moving forward. We state that you do lien, levy, bond, create title, do the banking documents, whether that be a prepayment in Delarium or getting a loan from yourself, which is the original creditor, but you as the people getting a loan from the original creditor, which is the bank. So you have to have letterhead from the bank that says this much is approved and is prepaid from the trust account of the legacy account of wherever you're getting that money from. And it has to be nominated in gold, silver, and more sovereign Delarium in order for it to be valid. And then when you send it, watch what happens. You're not going to have to worry about keys and things like that. You're not going to have to. The Spirit is going to tell you the same way that it spoke to me about go ahead and now you can access this account. The Spirit will speak to you the same way. You will know in your knower that it's time to go there and demonstrate that place. And keys are going to probably most likely be under the mat or on top of the door ledge. You know, either the front door or the back door will be up at the top, or either under the mat, or in an open lockbox where you can open it and get the key. So you're not going to have to worry about keys. Keys are going to be accessible to you. You're not going to have to kick doors in and knock in. You're not going to have to do any of that. The keys are going to be on where you can access them. And if you can't access the keys, because see, the Spirit will tell you whether it's, you know, all you got to do is look for it and you'll find it. For some, it's going to be in a flower pot near the door and things like that. So, and for others, it's probably going to happen a whole different way where someone is actually going to bring you the key or send it in the mail. So, demonstrate the process, do a proper exchange on a public record, create the title, lien, levy, and bond, because you are the internal revenue on that piece too. You know, so, and then we will do Bretton Woods at another time. Islam Empress.
Okay, I have a question in relation to the lien, levy, and bond. I do think I recall last week you were saying in that lien, levy, and bonding process, if we wanted to keep certain establishments around, that's the benefit of doing the lien, levy, and bond.
Yes.
So how about if, okay, for these people who are calling themselves bona fide purchasers or acquisitionists or whatever they want to refer to themselves as. Okay.
Anything except the heirs or the inheritors, anything but that.
Okay, so with the lien, levy, and bond, we can shut them down for good so that they will find a new means of, earning a living, I guess I could say it that way. We could shut their operation like that down if we have their information, couldn't we?
It is mandatory that all corpses stop corpsing. It's mandatory. So sometimes Moors ask if they can lien, if they should lien. You actually have to. So here, let me tell you what you're really shutting down, Empress, because I will to clarify this for everyone who's listening. What you're shutting down is the enactment of ignoring a constitution and a treaty and proper process and our authority and our power. That's what you're shutting down. In many cases, the faces are going to look the same. So when I go to Walmart, let's just say, when I go to Walmart and I'm using my gold, silver, and Moorish sovereign delarium at Walmart, everything is going to go smoothly, or my merchant card or whatever I'm using, my check that I crafted or whatever. Everything is going to go smoothly. There's not going to be any issues, and wisdom has no adversary, so everything is going to be in order. And those running around with name tags on and things like that, they're going to be in their proper status, which is subject to you and your commands. And for us, we won't have to exercise that command so much so because our commands are built into the process. The process of going to the store and purchasing something is a regular everyday process. It's just that the rightful authority is there. So it's not faces where you're having to say, okay, you don't work here anymore, but we're going to make sure you get a job somewhere else. It's not necessarily that as much as it is when Betty Smith was working here previously, she was acting as a corpse. And she was trying to tell people that they have to have a mask coming in here when that's not lawful or legal and all of that, because even legally, no one has authority over your body. So she's not going to say or do those things anymore. She's going to be everything she says and does is going to be legal and lawful and in alignment with, or legal rather, because you're the law. She's not the law. Everything that she says is going to be in alignment with the law and proper operation of that establishment with you as the original creditor. So we don't have to worry about moving everybody that works at the post office to a different place. We don't have to worry about that. Our job was to put the process in place and have the process honored. And the system honors the process. So now those that are there, all they have to do is keep doing what they've been doing, which is look at the system, and whatever the system says, then that's what it says, and that's what's to be done. Our job was to get the system in alignment so that they won't be able to say anything other than what the system says. You see? So it's not so much about faces as it is about the system. The faces can stay there, as far as I'm concerned. They can stay there. But they will know when they see us that who we are, first and foremost, that we're the boss, we're the head, And even if we're not there, the system not there because we're not leaving our land. But even if we're not in that room at that time, they're still going to be able to look at the system, and the system is going to honor what should be done with our processes and our stuff. Does that clarify, Empress?
Well, I think I wasn't okay. So yes, I understand for the other establishments, but I'm more focused on these particular companies who their goal is to, what they call property acquisition, and the bona fide purchaser for value. I'm thinking of those particular ones.
Yes.
Isn't it, because I'm thinking in my thinking process, okay, this is our opportunity to shut those particular entities down.
So when
if there's taking people's properties or enacting that.
Okay, so Empress, they will take properties as long as people consent to them taking properties. So where you're concerned, and if there's a specific office or set of offices that you are speaking of, the only way to get them to stop acting like that office is for you to send them something stating that you are that office. It's kind of like what we said the other day about being stood up on a date. You're stood up when the other one doesn't appear. You're stood up if the other one doesn't appear. We stand because they're not really there. But you must make that known. And here's the thing. When you notify actors, all actors are to be liened, okay? And when you notify them that you are the true office, you must know the duties of that office. And it's simple. All duties, they're all the same. There has to be a legal document that says something about that office or about whatever exchange that is. So when you take, you remove them by you being there. And being there is simply a document, a piece of paper that says, I'm that office. That's how they're removed. They're also removed when you properly address your documents. They're automatically removed because you're not talking to them. And they will stop acting like they're acting when you state that you are that office. And that's why we said let's just go ahead and get all of that taken care of by putting the 40-something documents on the public record. Because every last one of them has every last one of those offices has a clerical characteristic. They're all acting as judges, Empress, all of them. They're no matter what the title is, they're all acting as judges or attorneys. Every last one of them were acting as attorneys, no matter what you call the office. And that's what the 40-something documents takes care of. That way, when you start using the proper letterhead, a nationalized letterhead, stating that you are the purchaser, the original creditor, and really, the original creditor shuts all of that down. Let me prove that. Because this will make it even simpler. And I'm making it simple both for myself and for those that are listening. Really quickly. Every one of them is pretending to either collect the debt or pretend to be a creditor. So 15, this is what we're looking at. 15, and we spell this out, United States Code 1692G. And for us, this is credit validation, creditor validation, or validation for credit. This is putting everyone in their proper place. No debt is valid without a statement from the original creditor. All banks were acting as the original creditor. Okay. Right here in part 3, it says a statement. What you're doing is you're saying, it says within notice of debt, within a certain period of time, 5 days after the initial communication with the consumer in connection with the collection of a debt, a debtor shall do these things. You have to list all of these things. Okay, this is relevant to what you're saying about purchasers, the term that they use. It was called a bona fide purchaser for value and all of that, all of those fake titles. Those titles don't mean anything if you don't have the name and address of the original creditor, which is stated right here in number 5. A statement that upon the consumer's written request within the 30-day period, the debt collector will provide the consumer with the name and address of the original creditor if different from the current creditor. The original creditor is you, Empress. And that knocks, I don't care what title is out there, the original creditor to any exchange on either side, whether you're the bank or the buyer or the seller, if you're the original creditor, none of that other stuff matters. And then you have to prove that you're the original creditor because it's not assumed, it's proven. Nationality documents or a nationality ID card, identification card, a federal driver's license, which is the ones we all produce for ourselves. But the nationality card is the most important, or nationality paperwork. And then you must have the original title to the place. Then you must show a title deed is also necessary for legal purposes. See, you've gotten the nationality identification card and the nationality paperwork and the allodial title. Those are the proof for lawfulness. That's at law. But then legally, you must also have the original trust deed. You have to have something legally that says you're the original creditor. So you can even have the original bank note because you're the bank too. And here's the thing about Moorishe Sovereign. When you show that you paid for the property with Moorishe Sovereign, that's original money. It's original because we created it originally. No one else did that. We did that. We all did that. That's automatically outside of that system. It supersedes the value that they were claiming, because they were claiming to be bona fide purchasers for value. But there's no value with fiat. And that is actually legally on the record now. Even the funny mirror is saying that, or was saying that. You see what I'm saying, Empress? That's how you get past them, is you give just a simple statement and some proof that you're the original creditor. That's how you get past all of that. That's how you get past fake policy enforcers, fake judges, actors of any kind, is you're the original creditor no matter what the deal is. They can't be purchasers of something they don't own, something that's not for sale, something that's already spoken for, and there's no value in fiat. Islam Empress? Hopefully we weren't too long-winded. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom regarding, and that did answer the question.
That was very helpful, Empress. I appreciate that.
It was what, Empress? Was it long-winded?
It was very helpful. Thank you.
Islam. Oh, by the way, the word purchaser, that's a compound word. The first word is poor, and the second word is chaser. That's according to the dictionary. An old dictionary says purchaser is poor chaser. It means to seek, to pursue, or open to bribery. And then another part says poor means for, F-O-R, and chaser means to chase, for to chase. So even to say that they are a good faith chaser of value. And we get that, but there's no value in fiat, so that doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold at all. And what they've been doing is going down and paying, quote unquote, to record a deed when they haven't done anything. If you pay fiat, the deed is not valid.
Islam,
Empress.
You know, I just keep seeing when you had value on the screen, and it was talking about the value of stolen property and what the value was of the, you know, at the time of the stolen property.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, as you're stating, with fiat, there can be no purchase. It's actually stolen property.
Yes.
There's no value in it. So, I mean, for some reason, I mean, I kept just seeing the word stolen in there. And it's Black's Law Dictionary, and it's like, it's talking about stolen property. But as you state and describe, it's stolen or attempted in the enactment because there's no value to the note that was used for it. Their purchases, they have no, they don't have the status to actually own it.
Right.
So it's stolen. It's just that the word stolen just keeps jumping out at me far more even than value.
Well, you know, Empress, if you look, they put the word taking there.
And I saw that too in the takings clause.
Yes, that's what it is. So
yes.
It's really not stolen, it's taken.
But it's taken. If they don't have the right to take it, then it's stolen.
What does the Fifth Amendment say? It says that you cannot take without due process. And if there's no one there who's demonstrating due process like we're doing,
mm-hmm.
then they enact taking it.
And that right. And the enacting taking it, which is really for our benefit, is really a stealing in my I mean that but I hear exactly what you're stating, and it's true, it's enacting taking, which is for our benefit.
And they will not do that when we do proper documentation and due process.
Right. They can't. They cannot. They right.
And again, that's why they were saying that everything was abandoned, not stolen, not carried away, but they were saying everything was abandoned and that they were claiming abandoned property. They weren't saying that they were stealing. They weren't saying any of that.
And they weren't, because they were using, right, again, abandoned. It's a different...
We must do our job is what it's really saying.
And that's what it said, yes. And
we must.
Yes, clearly, quite clearly, yes.
Yeah, we must. Because, and we must do so competently. And here's the thing, competently is what we agree on. We don't have to put a whole bunch of steps in the way. We can just agree on this is how this is going to be done. Because look here, it says value as relates to stolen property is the market value. That's not the one I want to read. It says here, this is the one. Values as used in tax statutes are valuations of officials whose duty it is to make them.
I saw that one earlier too.
That means whatever the officials agree on together is what it is.
What it is, exactly.
And that's why this Congress is so important. Our ancestors willed that we come together and agree. And access is granted.
It's very simple when you look at it. When
yes.
you read, it's very, very simple, and it's very different from what was always being pushed in the enactment, in the funny mirror.
Yes.
What coming together was
yes.
about.
Yep. And that's why, they kept trying to cast that spell that there's no unity. There's no unity. Blacks can't unify. Well, no, they can't because they're black.
Exactly. Exactly. It's funny, you that statement, for instance, watching different shows or different documentary, anything, and every time the black thing is pushed, it absolutely, literally has a visceral effect on my being, because it's the viewing now is completely changed by virtue of the knowledge.
Yes. Yes. Empress, with every new awareness, it's almost like the land around me starts changing, and not changing, but saying this is ancient Morocco.
Yes.
With every demonstration, with everything I do, I more and more every day feel the energy of ancient Morocco all around me. All around me.
We affirm.
But see, that's when that gate in the mind that accesses that 95% that we were not using in our sleep, that gate is no more, really.
Yeah.
And see, for some, that gate opens and closes, and that's actually part of the process. Is the gate opens, and sometimes you can see it, and you're like, I see this. Yes. And other times the gate closes and the program kicks in, and sometimes fear will come in and all of that stuff, which we've been through all of that, so we're not going through that anymore. The gate is, we did away with the gate. There's no more gate to open or close, because gate means government.
Yes, Mom.
Yes.
There, an Empress came over just the other day, and she had brought some documentation that she had did, and she reaffirmed and reminded us about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the 10-10-9505 documentation and the restatement that we had did, and how powerful that is when it comes to our estate and aligning our estate with what the Prophet had already put in place for us to remember who we are and to claim our estate. So I just felt that was necessary to put on the record for those to hear that we have restated that. Is it in your Google Drive, that documentation?
It's under the video where we did the restatement.
Oh, okay. But yeah.
Yes, it's in the Google Drive, definitely. Yeah.
For more to seek that out and to read it and understand it and add that to, your affidavits, your allodial titles and such, because when she was speaking here, she was stating her process that she was doing. And she even stated that our processes are not, the same and such. But we were just in and listening and, analyzing what she was stating and saying, well, we can restate this, we can state that. We've already restated the document, but just hearing her process and then saying, okay, I get it, and now we can take it and restate it, and then we'll be good, because she was using it for her conveyance and her domicile.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
It has to be restated, though, because, see, when we're demonstrating, like before, in 2017, we were, when I first woke up, we were using the treaty as we printed it offline, from what we saw on the internet. We hadn't restated it or anything. We were using that, and it worked for a good 5 minutes. And then the ancestors were saying, come up higher, come on up higher, come on up higher. Read that again, because you're learning how to read now. Read it again, and if it doesn't make sense the way it's written, then you have to redo it. And when we read it again, we realized that it was a war document instead of a peace document.
Right.
And so we said, okay, let's restate that. Let's restate everything. And that's what we did. Yeah. But there are some Moors who are just now finding out who they are, and they're downloading things as they see it. Fortunately, though, if they start Googling, they'll run right into some of our documents.
They sure do.
We love that.
Yeah.
So they can see that, you can go ahead and restate it again. Do write it the way your spirit says write it, so that you can demonstrate it. Or use our templates and things. Use what we put out there, because we speak with one voice anyway.
Right.
Yeah. I saw something here. It says value as used in eminent domain proceedings means market value, which title see infra. I don't know what that means. But what this is saying is market value. This is what we were saying about the dominion or eminent domain documents that we put on the public record for trust deed. Because we're not getting it from anyone, because those things are not valid. We don't even have to acknowledge the previous contracts anymore. We don't have to acknowledge them, because they're not valid. They're no good. The ancestors are saying start fresh, as if the place was abandoned, and do it, create your trust deed as eminent domain. Because there's no value otherwise. And here it says, for purposes of corporate reorganization, value is a reasonable capitalization of future earnings is reasonably foreseeable at date of reorganization. So that's a bunch of hogwash and salad and word salad for bankruptcy through capitalization. Clear value of an estate for the purpose of an inheritance tax is what remains after all claims against it have been paid. We don't have to worry about that. So with that being stated, valuation, the act of ascertaining the worth of a thing, the estimated worth of a thing. Valuation does not levy tax upon personal property, but is necessary step preliminary thereto. Okay. So what we'll do is we will adjourn this platform until Sunday at this time. If there be nothing further from this amazing Congress, please keep in mind all fiat debt contracts were only as quote-unquote good for the duration of the note, which means that from the very beginning they were fraud. But they're no good for purposes of the enactment, the previous era's enactment of fiat having value and fiat buying things. So demonstrate, demonstrate, demonstrate. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs, Islam.
Islam, peace,
Grand rising.
Islam.
Everybody, one Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Grand rising, peace and love. Grand rising, peace and love.
Are y'all
Grand rising, peace and love.
Are y'all
Grand rising, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Check it out. Grand rising, peace and love. Grand rising, peace and love.
All right. Grand rising, peace and love.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
harmony.
Yes, and harmony indeed. Islam.
Islam.